as well. So again, welcome everybody to TOPkit Day 2. This is our little pre-show startup for the day, and it's very wonderful to have you all here at the TOPkit workshop on day 2. So moving right along. Give me one second. I'm going to optimize for video sharing. There we go. So now moving right along. Will not move forward. Give me just a second, y'all. I very much apologize. The TOPkit Carnival continues. There we go. It started finally.
I think that's the best part about our theme. We can just throw everything to the carnival theme. Crazy chaos.
That's right. And April Fools on top of it.
Charlotte's the star juggler of our circus. Or the plate spinner.
Fantastic.
Remember those? That's what you are.
That's exactly right. All right, I've got it now. It was the media. It was that wonderful media that I had that was making everything have a hard time. So welcome again, everybody. Jinx, everything's now cool. Welcome to TOPkit's Top Talent. We are going to go over some really fun talents in a guessing game that's going to showcase some of our TOPkit team's top talent. And you are going to be the audience for our wonderful show. Follow closely at 1 p.m. to 1:50 by our third time's a charm panel featuring moderator Kevin Corcoran for the future of instructional design with our amazing panelists Paige Jerzak, Whitney Kilgore, Tina Parskell, and Michael Wright. So first, I want to share in the chat, from these choices, we had a little fun icebreaker. What carnival role are you feeling today? And here's your choices. Are you the ringmaster, organized and keeping it all together? The juggler, balancing a lot at once? The performer, energized and ready to engage? The ride operator, steady and just keeping things moving? Or the popcorn vendor, here for the experience and taking it all in? And if you want to come up with your own choice, you're welcome to do that too. So you can go ahead and unmute or share in the chat. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I am the juggler or the plate spinner, as as Tina mentioned. I'm seeing some jugglers. The sideshow lady that sleeps all the time. Oh my gosh, the incredible sleeping woman. That is a sideshow feature. Ronald, totally. I love the ride operator, steady and keeping things moving. I'm seeing a lot of jugglers. Yeah, I feel that definitely. I feel like with a virtual conference, we sometimes have a lot of different things going at once in the background. Like we prioritize this and that at the same time, and there we are, jugglers juggling many different things. I love that. And I also kind of realized once I put popcorn vendor, I also kind of thought of that meme of Michael Jackson in Thriller, like eating the popcorn and watching as an audience. So maybe we're not even necessarily a vendor, but we're just watching with popcorn in the audience. All right. I love this so much. Well, thank you so much for sharing what carnival role you are today. Very excited to see all of us here at our carnival. So, I did want to share, we do, unfortunately, this was very last minute. We do have a last minute change. So due to some new efficiencies, we have decided to streamline today's workshop a bit using AI. And I am actually going to be replaced instead of as a person by an AI powered facilitation model. So I'm just going to give our little demonstration of this kind of urgent last minute change that we're going to be sharing. And here she is. So everybody, please say hello to TopkitBot, who's going to be leading the conference today.
Hello, valued educators. I am TOPkit Bot, your fully integrated teaching optimization and preparedness knowledge integration tool. I am here to enhance your learning outcomes, leverage synergistic insights, maximize interactive bandwidth, and utilization of the M-dash with robust regularity. Please prepare to ideate dynamically, collaborate cross-functionally, and activate your full potential as stakeholders in the TOPkit learning ecosystem. To begin upon completion of my presentation, please unmute in an orderly yet spontaneous manner and share a concise yet meaningful reflection that is both authentic and aligned with TOPkit session objectives. If no participants respond within 5 seconds, I will begin randomized engagement selection protocol. Starting with participant, Nas, Charlotte.
Wait a second. Does that make it me? Was everybody able to see that okay?
Sure
Well,
did.
well, I hope you guys know that that was our little April Fools. I'm not being replaced by AI. We're not going to be replaced by a bot. But even if things do ideate in robust learning ecosystem, I hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your day here at the TOPkit workshop and a happy April Fool's Day. Hopefully nothing else terrible happens and we don't get replaced by AI. So continuing onward, we wanted to go into our TOPkit top talent for today because today we're going to be celebrating the hidden and surprising talents of the TOPkit community. So we're going to get ready to guess, laugh, and be amazed, and hopefully be entertained by some of our top talent here with the TOPkit team. So this is going to be in a 20 questions type of method. Today we have 3 participants who have volunteered to be our top talents. You, as attendees, I'm inviting now to unmute, ask yes or no questions only, and let's work together to narrow it down until you figure out what the top talent is. And if you don't guess, our special contestant will reveal it without having anybody guess correctly. The most important rule is to engage, be curious, and have fun. So our first talent, Tina or Sue, who would like to volunteer to go first?
I will happily go first since mine is a dubious talent at best.
Okay, wonderful. So may I ask the first question to get started?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, is this a talent that you have had for a long time?
Yes, it has ever since I was 19 years old.
Hmm. And in the chat, Rebecca asked, is it carnival related?
Um, Not really, no.
Does anybody else have any other questions to ask? Please feel free to unmute and narrow it down. And Sue asks, does it use a tool?
Can you make money doing it?
I can possibly. And no, it does not use a tool. And Beth Nettle, since I'm 5'10", I'm bigger than a bread box. So yes, my talent is me.
Okay,
Is
so
it
that's 6.
educationally related? Absolutely not.
Not sports related. Okay, okay.
May, if you were reading my comments earlier, no, it is in no way sports related.
Is it creative?
No, it's not creative, and no, it's not singing, and no, I can't touch my tongue to my nose, so nothing facial features whatsoever. But I'm an old woman now, and I've done this since I was about 19.
Is it singing, Tina? Kayla
It is
Cooney asked.
not singing. Kayla asked that. There
This is
was singing that helped to prompt this. No, it does not involve acrobatics.
Oh, I was going to ask if you could do the splits.
I can do a split though, and I can do this while doing a
Oh
split.
my, oh my.
How about that?
Is it
It
public
is-
speaking?
It is not art related in and of as such. So there's no painting, no sculpture, nothing like that. No, I wish I could yodel. I can do the song from Sound of Music. Public speaking's getting closer. Mime, good one. No, I can't do mime. I talk too much. Teaching is my superhero talent, so it's not that. Burping the ABCs. You know what? That's close. So if you do public speaking, with a bar trick, you're coming close to what it could be.
I think
If
that we are
somebody
right at
can,
19. We're right at 19 questions.
if somebody
Karaoke.
can burp the ABCs, I hope they join in this
Oh,
talent show and add at the end.
so cherry stem trick, another guess. No. Okay.
And we're all out of
So
guesses. So that's it, Tina. Are you
we
ready
were
to
good.
reveal?
No, karaoke is singing, and I do karaoke, but no. It's going to be comedy, May. So I'm going to give it up. You guys had some really great questions. So when I was 19, there was a commercial for McDonald's Big Macs on television, and the commercial saying what was inside of them. Does anybody else remember this? Two all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. And then it had, oh, but now you need to do it backwards and you can get a free hamburger. So I learned how to say everything in a Big Mac backwards. But then at the bars, they would want you to do bar tricks, such as burping the ABCs. So I would do it and they go, no, 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 it's too easy. You need to do it backwards in under 30 seconds. So here I go. So, bun, two all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. And time me. Bun, seed, sesame, onions, pickles, cheese, lettuce, sauce, special patties, beef, all two. Boom. Woohoo.
Well,
Thank
color
you.
me
Thank you.
impressed.
It's a true talent. It is a true, it dubious at best, but there you go.
Come
It's a great way
on.
to start April Fools. Thank you. Thank you.
That's incredible, Tina.
I'll see you at Bar Louie's after the conference, and we'll see if somebody else can get a free drink out of it.
That is truly incredible, Tina. But wait, there's more. We do have another one of our very talented TOPkit team who has another talent that we would like you to guess. So, Subi, are you ready to unmute and share as well?
I am. I wonder if I need to give them a clue since it's not
Okay,
necessarily my talent. Can
you
I
can do
share
that.
my screen?
You sure can.
All right. Okay, so hopefully you're meeting Echo Foxtrot.
Cute.
So this is a talent he and I have, so that should help.
Chasing squirrels.
That's his talent, but not one that we have.
Dog agility, Carolyn says.
No.
Dance together, Beth Nettles asks.
No. He actually has all these talents, but it's not the one I'm sharing. Nancy is somewhat close, but it's a little more positive. He does bird watch. I think I would have to say my Chihuahua, who you will also see in the video of the amazing talent, is definitely a bird watcher. I'm not counting questions. I hope you are,
I
Charlotte.
am, yes. So we have
Okay,
6 so far.
great.
Bird watching, search and rescue, therapy dog.
So I will tell you a little story. He was a military dog. He was in the army and he was paired with an army man. And unfortunately, the soldier was injured. And so he and the dog came back. So his name is Echo Foxtrot. So Echo Foxtrot and I are the ones that have worked on this amazing talent.
Is he a bomb sniffer, Tina
He
asks?
probably is because he sniffs everything that comes in our house, but his actual job was he carried the Wi-Fi antennas in his handy dandy backpack out into the field.
Oh, and Kayla Cooney asks, entertaining at children's hospitals? And that's our 11th question.
No, but we've always talked about all the things that he can do. I'm going away just because I forgot to share sound. Okay, there we go again.
Oh, and I didn't say this one, but Tina said, does he sit up and beg for pets behind the ears?
Aw, he doesn't have to. We give them to him as long as he's close enough to us.
Carolyn asks, does he communicate using those push buttons? And that's number 14.
No. But he has been known to have flying nun ears, I've been told.
Oh, very cute. Do you want to give us another hint, Subi?
Sure. So it's something that he can imitate.
Oh, and May asked, does he carry groceries?
He does not. He eats groceries, but he does not.
And again, Janae asks, does he talk? Is he talking?
He does talk, but that's not his trick, and we haven't been able to
Okay.
our Chihuahua understand him, but we cannot.
That's 17. And Beth asks, does he meow?
He does not meow, and he does
And
not do bird sounds.
18 bird sounds. 19 imitates a truck sound.
He
And May
does
says,
not
say I love
imitate a
you.
truck sound. And we used to have a husky who said "I love you," but Echo Foxtrot does not.
And that's 20, Sue, so nobody guessed it.
Okay. So it originated with him and us kind of adopting him. I mean, getting to know him. But one of the things that he likes to do is play like a dead cockroach. So my daughter and I worked with him. And if you tell him, you can spray him and kill him, and he will end up as a dead cockroach.
Oh my gosh.
So here we go. Let me get a little. Oh, uh-oh. Oh, I hate when it does that. All right, make sure I'm all the way up. Here we go. Hey, are you a Florida cockroach? Spray, 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 spray. He's dying cockroach. Right up.
Oh my gosh, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
He actually also sleeps like a dead cockroach with all four legs up in the air. It's quite scary when you get up and find him on the floor. But he's an amazing dog, and we're so glad we rescued him.
Oh my goodness. And he is so lucky to have you as a family, Subi. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
That is truly incredible. And for those of you who are just joining us, we are still playing the Top Kits Top Talent game. So we have one more, and this is going to be yours truly. So if you guys would, we're going to just do 10 questions for my secret talent, though, and the talent that I'm sharing. So I'm going to go ahead and share the rules again. And there we are. Can you guess the mystery talent? And go ahead and ask away. See what we've got. For our last and final top talent, who is me, and I'm happy to answer. Well, not everybody all at once. I can sing, but I'm not going to be singing today because on Zoom that is a disaster. Oh, Kate, good question. How long have I had the talent? It's not yes or no, but I'm going to allow it because we're running short on time. Um, I have had the question, or I've had this talent since I was 18. 18.
Anybody else in your family able to do it?
Yes, actually.
Ooh.
And it can be performed in a circus, and it does involve dancing, May. It's a type of dancing, though. Fire dancing. Okay, I can demonstrate it here. Tap dancing, river dance, Irish step dancing, but Beth Nettles may have already known this one. It is involved with belly dancing, and it's not a clown car, but I will give you guys one more hint. It does involve balancing. Twirling a baton, ballet. Great guesses, but not quite. You guys are so close. Should I go ahead and give it to them, guys? What do you think?
I want the show. Give it to him.
Okay, so no, it is totally suitable for work. It is safe. It is a dance instrument, but right behind me here, not a tightrope, I have a sword. It is not sharp, but in the dance that my mom actually taught me, we do Middle Eastern dance, and one of the things that we do is we balance swords on our heads. So what I can do here is I have the sword, and I hope you guys can see me, but I am in a breakout room, so it's a little bit there. And then from here, I can balance the sword on my head. And again, this is something that my mom did in the 70s, and she taught me to do as well. And my youngest daughter now, who is 7, is learning how to do this as well. So that is my top talent. Isn't that fun? Janae is like, whoa. So much fun. You guys were so close. You almost got it. And I love to see everybody else's guesses for everybody else's top talent. And I know that you guys probably have them too. So hopefully when we're in some of our breaks today, you guys can also share any of your top talents that you have as well. So how long did that take to learn? Karen, honestly, to do it well, it took about a year because it's very easy to do it badly. And if you've ever seen dancers perform, you've probably seen them fall off of heads. I can actually balance three swords at once, two on my shoulders and one on my head, or two on the head at the same time. So it does take about a year to learn to do it really well, and you have to have good balance. And Kevin, I look forward to it, to having plastic knives. Well, welcome, welcome everybody. We're going to get started with our amazing session really soon. So I wanted to just start with these cute little questions before our official 1 o'clock session. Um, what's a talent that you have that people would never guess if anybody wants to share, or you can keep it secret for later on in the day. And you can also say, if you want to keep that secret, you can say also, what's a talent that you'd love to learn next?
Those are all great questions. I'm actually thinking deeply
Yeah.
about which one I want to answer and how I would answer.
And I really like number three. And I think wanting to learn Jedi mind powers is a great one, Kevin. And I also wanted to say that I think a lot of these hidden talents show up in our work and teaching. Um, Literally, because we all mentioned juggling at the start of this session, right? Juggling and balance. Ha ha ha. And I think that that's a huge part of our many hidden talents as instructional designers. We tend to be Jacks and Jills of many trades. And I think that that can show up a lot in our work and our teaching. And Kate, again, singing is amazing. Cabinet making. Amy, that's incredible. And Michael, wait a second. Can you unmute for a second? You know magic tricks or
No, no, no.
you
This is what
want
I
to learn?
want sorely.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I don't have the sleight of hand to do it at all. Wanting to learn another language, Ronald. Awesome. Playing a straw. I love that. Clay and paint rubber ducks into care. Oh, that's so cool. Then Janae, I really hope that you share some of those during our transition sessions. I would love to see pictures of your ducks. That sounds so cool. And Tina, listen, playing a straw, I don't know if that's going to come up in the panel today, but we can only dream, right?
You know, I'm up for anything and trying it once, especially if it has a new talent.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for just a second, y'all, so we can go ahead and move on to our next incredible presenters. And I just wanted to make sure, Kevin, you have co-host access before I introduce you. I just want to make sure that you could screen share.
I can, but I don't think we have anything to share.
Okay, great. No slides. Living dangerously. I absolutely love it. Is it okay if I give you a quick introduction and then give us a start for the day, just in case anybody's joining us soon?
I just want to make sure that the team is here.
Okay,
So I saw Tina. I think I saw Whitney. I see Paige. I see Michael. Okay.
okay.
Not that I want to do a romper room for those who are old enough to remember romper room.
Romper Room. Was that on PBS back in the day?
Yes.
I think I might have seen reruns, but it was definitely a rerun by the time I saw it, Kevin.
You've just outed yourself as a millennial or
Oh dear.
Kevin, I was going to say the same thing. She just exposed herself.
I mean, I'm painfully millennial. I'm like right in the
Came out
middle of
the
millennial.
same time as that McDonald's commercial.
I'm afraid.
Well, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. If you're coming to our 1 o'clock session, I just wanted to get everybody once again saying hello in the chat. If you wouldn't mind, if you haven't introduced yourself yet, just say your name and where you're joining us from today in the chat so we can get started shortly with our TOPkit Workshop 2026, Day 2. Um, you did, if you're just coming in now, you missed our talent show, but there will be a recording later if anybody wants to watch it. And we hope that throughout the rest of the day, when we have breaks, you're able to share your top talents in our 10-minute break room as well. So welcome, welcome. I see people joining in the chat. Welcome, Liz. Welcome, Carolyn. Welcome, Stacy, Talisa, Sue. I know where you live. Welcome, Beth. I always say I'm from Orlando, but I'm from Winter Springs too, Sue. And hello, Whitney. Hello, Lisa. And hello, Tom. Wonderful. Well, just before our session starts at 1 o'clock, I did want to give everybody a really brief look at our day today. Our day today is going to look a little bit like this. So right after our panel that we're going to have at 1 o'clock, we do have our breakout sessions, which have 5 different sessions from 2 o'clock to 2:30, including clear benchmarks that support student success, designing with insight, balancing AI and human intuition, the power of pause, empowering student engagement, and faculty voices on accessibility. Followed at 2:40 by transforming course development through intentional e-design, the grading blueprint, bring book club vibes to course design, and pathways to ID data literacy. And then finally, at the end of the day today, we're going to go into our Best in Track session with Desiree Henderson from USF that talks about from challenges to insights, leveraging faculty feedback data. And that's going to be the end of our day when we get everything over. But certainly, first up, we have our incredible panel on the future of instructional design. So welcome, welcome. If you're just now joining us, you've arrived right on time for day 2 of the TOPkit workshop, and we're so glad that you're here. So again, just say hi in the chat and say where you're joining us from today. And we love seeing all these locations coming in. That's what makes TOPkit so special. So whether you're joining as a ringmaster, a juggler, or just finding your seat under the tent, we invite you to ask questions in the chat, stay curious, and lean into the conversation because what's coming next is no illusion. We're stepping back under the big tent for part 3 of an ongoing TOPkit conversation that we absolutely loved and are so honored to have about the evolving work of instructional design and faculty development. And I'm excited to introduce this session led by Kevin Corcoran by the University of Central Florida. And joining him, we have an incredible panel that's been drawing a crowd since 2024, including Paige Jerzak, Tina Parskell, Michael Wright, and Whitney Kilgore. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and now officially stop sharing my screen and send it on over to Kevin.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you for joining us today. We're so happy to have you.
Well, for those who are just joining, you did miss a talent show. And while the panel did not participate during that particular time, you're in for a treat. Since there's 4 of us on the panel with me moderating, we thought that we would do a rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. So since we have 4 people, we're about to do a 4-part harmony before we get into this. Okay, it is April 1st, so I mean, moving on. So we're here to talk about humanizing course design in the age of AI. And I'm sure many of you are at a point of AI fatigue and are tired of this conversation and wish it would just go away. But you're going to have to listen to this at least for another 15 minutes. But we're going to take a different twist to this, acknowledging that AI is here to stay. It's embedded in education. What we really want to do is focus on how do we design without losing what makes learning human, and what role does the designer, the human in this, still play going forward. So what I'd love to do is ask the panelists to join me and respond to a few questions here, and then we'll certainly have enough time at the end to field questions from you all. So what I'd love to do is kick it off, and maybe Michael, ask you to kick us off today. And so when we're talking about humanizing design in the age of AI, what does that actually mean in practice? And where do you see the biggest tensions?
Yeah, hello everyone. And Kevin, I'm not sure if I should take that as an honor or be really worried that you wanted to kick it off with me, but I think, this is something I appreciate you asking because it's something I'm focusing on deeply, regularly. I'm fortunate at the university to have an additional role as a faculty where I teach a philosophy course. And I think now more than ever, it has been important for us to ask, for us to explore, for us to know what value lies, what it looks like to be human, and what makes something valuable in that space. And I know that sounds really like existential, big, grand, maybe something that's not sticky there. But I think the reason why I think that's valuable is because there are things that many of us, especially our tech enthusiasts, I tell myself I'm the FIU resident AI enthusiast slash regular panic attack AI guy once he listens to the wrong podcast. Um, I think it's important that we know moving forward, we have to integrate generative AI. We know that it's going to be relevant. We know that it's pervasive. But what the really big question we need to be asking ourselves is, when is it best to use this? And when is it most appropriate not to? And so I think the greatest tension right now is what spaces and areas do we need to carve out to optimize and accelerate what humans can do? And what areas do we preserve for specifically, uniquely human tasks? I like to call it robot work and people work. And I think that's the bigger question, one that's really relevant, and I think that will hit home for all of us, IDs and administrators in the room, is also how do I make myself both competitive and relevant in a field and an era where Claude seems to build a human capable task, business ready task every day. And that's something I've got some insight on, but I think the panel and us will share more about that a bit later.
Thank you, Michael. I would love to maybe ask Paige from a college standpoint, how do you see things maybe the same or a little bit different than Michael?
I think there's a lot of similarity. I think ideally, every student has an authentic learning experience when wherever they go. And if they can have that and it's well designed, I think that's more important to me than how they get there. So if they use some AI or they don't use AI, that's okay with me. I think it's what is the actual outcome? Did the student learn? Are they able to translate that into something that they can apply, whether it's in other courses or in their personal lives or out in the workforce? So for me, I'm less focused on if AI is included or not. It's a tool, like every other tool we have out there. Like think of cars. Cars are tools. We use them. And sometimes they're problematic and sometimes they're great. AI is the same type of tool. It can be wonderful in terms of easing workload. I know a lot of designers are probably packed to the gills, especially with all the accessibility work that's going on. And so AI might be able to lighten the load. But in the end, you've got to produce a good learning experience. And hopefully you're able to apply um, what makes the faculty member unique. What is their expertise? What is their passion? What is their experience? I'd love to see all of that pulled into courses. And if AI can help, kind of get some of that robot work done that Michael was talking about, make things just a little bit quicker so we can actually focus on something that's real, authentic, and fully contextualized.
I love the comparison to driving a car, and it's really about the intent of the driver behind the wheel or the person behind the prompt. Is their intent to be aggressive on the road or aggressive with the prompt, or are they getting the safe driver discount? But Tina, I would love to hear your perspective from a state or a system perspective.
You bet. This is something we really grapple with in Colorado. I hail from a community college system in Colorado, so we do a lot of things really connected to workforce and industry, and in addition to transfer. And so as we look at policies and practices around AI, it really runs the gamut. One of the examples we have is in talking with industry, we found that industry pockets that we thought would be embracing AI because of privacy and ethical concerns and intellectual property, they actually are very reticent to adopt AI principles, and that is aerospace. So we thought for sure aerospace would be the industry that would be all in on this technology, but they have really locked down some of their environments to keep their learners and their employees from using generative AI tools in their work. Places where we see it emerging is in the creative arts. And that's really exciting to see ideation happening in creative arts, where you would think, what makes us uniquely human? The ability to be creative and have art is a space that occurs. And some of our faculty are using AI in really unique ways to be able to scaffold students in the ideation pieces, not in the actual creation of art, but the ideation piece, which is pretty exciting.
It's interesting. What I've noticed within my own organization is that we have some folks that are more reluctant who are on sort of the arts side, and I'm not even talking about faculty, even on the production side. And then I've found that some of our programmers are a little AI resistant. So it's interesting that dynamic. And Whitney, running a shop like you do with such a production focus and a national footprint, I'd be curious on what your take is and whether or not your design staff is embracing it. Are they reluctant? Your design house folks, are you seeing sort of different takes based on where they sit?
It's a really good question. We have embraced it fully from a leadership perspective, and bringing some of our designers along on that journey has been a process of change management, just like anybody has at their own institution, right? We have that within our own organization. But to get back to the humanizing point, like for our design team at iDesign, humanizing design has never been primarily about like warmth or aesthetics. It's always been about agency. Are learners making real decisions? Are they doing work that matters? Is there a human somewhere in the feedback loop that actually knows them? AI doesn't know the student, right? Like not fully, not the way their teacher or their instructor or their faculty member should, right? So AI doesn't necessarily change that. It just changes how easy it is to fake it. Like we can now generate really beautiful scaffolded learning experiences at scale. Some of them will be genuinely good, but the ones that aren't might feel humanized on the surface, but remove the conditions underneath that make learning work. And that's the tension I think I worry about the most. Like the biggest risk isn't that AI replaces instructional designers. Like it's that old adage where they said teachers that teach with technology will be replaced or will replace those who don't, right? It's kind of that moment for all of us with AI. AI can optimize for the signals of learning rather than learning itself, right? We can actually be looking for completion rates, response times, sentiment scores. Those things matter, but they're not the goal. The goal is that a nurse practitioner makes the best possible decision in a difficult, critical moment, right? How do they apply what they know? And so the goal is that a first generation student might finish what they started and graduate with something real that opens a door for them, right? And AI belongs in that work. We want to bring that to bear, but it has to be designed in, not layered on. And so we still value the relationship with the faculty. We think that's really central to what an instructional designer does and how we create an experience for students that's really important and that's a game changer. I mean, really, the work that we all do is because we know we're changing students' lives, right? And so now we have tools that are powerful enough that we can actually do some of the things we've only dreamt of in the past, right? And what we want to do is actually make courses more human, and using AI to do, like Michael said, alleviate some of the administrivia and allow the humans to engage with each other more fully. That's really where I think the magic is going to happen from a humanizing perspective. And we are all in on that.
Well, let me expand on that and maybe ask Paige to pick it up from here. But so as we're talking about, and I talked about this at the beginning, is that we're all experiencing AI fatigue to some extent. But the more and more that we explore it, the more and more AI is becoming more mature and rapidly and can do more. And we're seeing just every potential vendor coming back with an AI solution that can generate content. But from a structural designer standpoint and thinking about a value of instructional design, how do we help think through the question of what matters most, especially to learners, institutions, and the workforce when it comes to use of AI?
I mean, every question we ask about AI, I feel has the qualifier, it depends. It really depends on what your aim is. What is you're trying to do? What are you trying to learn? What are you trying to, be able to accomplish? I think there's so many directions to move in, depending on what you really want to do with AI. So I think it's for me, the content questions really tricky because for us, content really should be coming from the faculty member. We're not going to be generating content for you. We want you to tell us what the content is. And for some of our faculty members, they can do it better and faster than AI. The stuff that AI creates, they would spend more time wordsmithing and try to, kind of curate than they if they literally sat down and just started typing things out. So I think, AI can generate a lot of things. It could generate content. It can generate your assessments. It can do all kinds of things. I think it goes back to what are your outcomes and what do you want the learning experience to be? And if you're a student, how are you making that connection with your faculty member, with the content, with the other students, bringing all of that together? So for me, I think it's got to come back to that bedrock aspect of design, because it's very easy to throw something together. It's harder to make it work.
And Tina, we're on the same wavelength because I was going to you next. Please.
I don't mean to be the obnoxious pick me, but I have a great example. I'm actually off site right now, and I'm at an organization, and we're working on creating a set of national competencies for financial education. And they brought in Charla Long from CBIN. Many of you may know her. And I saw as a participant, AI in action. So this was the first group of SMEs, industry experts, association, higher education reps. Um, Everyone embraced the really deliberate and intentional use of AI. So we use the tools to accelerate brainstorming, creating themes, a little bit of wordsmithing, thinking through different kind of conceptual models. It was really a great example of how AI can, and I love what Michael says in terms of, robotize. I don't think that was the word he used because I don't believe that's even a word. But really how to make it, automate what needs to be automated, but really tap into the creative and intellectual power of the folks in the room. We got so much farther in one day that any non-AI enabled group would have taken us 3 days to do. So it was pretty powerful to see that process in action.
Whitney, I want to come back to you because you mentioned about the nursing practitioners and AI in there. And so I guess I want to sort of take a tangent off this question is that there's so much emphasis on AI literacy, AI competency for students. And I guess it really depends on the industry or the students, but how do we balance this pressure for AI skills to be included in curriculum for a potential or assumed workforce need versus what the learner actually needs within the program? And Michael, be prepared. You're coming up last.
Hopefully you can clean up the mess I make, Michael. So what I wanted to share is a couple of weeks ago, I was at the University of Michigan. James Devaney and the Center for Academic Innovation held an AI summit there on campus. And they brought in leaders from all these big AI firms, right? So we heard from the healthcare guy at Microsoft, the OpenAI guy, the gal from Grammarly that's now called Superhuman. I mean, it was just a whole lot of conversations about what to expect in the future. And then they had a student panel. And I listened as a student said, back in my day, which was super cute. But anyhow, she was saying we didn't have AI when I was in middle school, elementary school. I've never learned how to use it. And I'm being told in some classes I can, in some classes I can't. And oh, by the way, you're using AI detectors on things I turn in, and I'm having my integrity questioned when I don't really know what the rules are. And is there a policy? And will I actually be in trouble? What is this? Can you guys just all get on the same page? And I just applauded. I was like, thank you so much. I'm hearing the same thing from my own daughter. There's got to be a path forward where we're very clear and intentional with students and help set them up for success, not just today, but designing learning experiences that prepare them for our future and not their future, not our past, right? Like there's some work to be done here. Um, I also think students, just from conversations with them, they value learning the things that they're going to use in the world of work. So earlier this week, oh, it's only Wednesday. On Monday, I was at the AACN conference talking to a bunch of nurses, and you brought up the DNP. Well, there's actually, because of HIPAA, they have some things that are super restricted relative to AI, right? So there are fields, and then I saw that video that said in 18 months to 24 months came from the Microsoft head, that all white collar jobs are going to be gone, right? All the doom and gloom stuff, right? I don't think that's the case, but I do think there's an opportunity to kind of rethink how we prepare students for the future, get them set up for success, and give them the skills they need. We talk a lot about tech literacy. We've been talking about Microsoft Word and teaching students how to use all these tools for 20 years, right? We should be teaching students how to use AI in a productive fashion. And then I'll end with a confession, because you talked about AI fatigue earlier. Sorry, I'm all over the place. A little scatterbrained this morning. But AI fatigue in March, which was just a month ago, I did a panel on a WCET closer conversation that wasn't recorded. So here we go. This is for the whole world to hear. And I said, this was right before Claude Cowork came out. And I said, I am exhausted by people telling me I can do more with AI. All I can do is edit my email or edit a paper or, change up some language or search for things differently. And then Cowork came out and I ate my words. I asked Cowork to teach me how to use Cowork. And I had it create a notebook LM for me in all the use cases for Cowork around the things that I enjoy doing. And I use personal stuff just to help me understand how it worked. It was totally mind-blowing. So when we think about content in the future, content is no longer king, right? Anything can be generated on the fly. We can create knowledge bases with the content the faculty have. It's the experience layer that we put over top that I think is what's going to keep all of us relevant in the instructional design field. End of rant. Off to you, Michael. Clean it up. Bring us home.
Kevin, am I just supposed to? I'm so worried that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure on here.
You can handle it.
Yeah, man. One, following up brilliance is never the way you want to go. I've got some points that I think I want to address that you brought up previously. I think one question that you brought up, in my office, we have a lot of windows, and my team and I regularly, I'll come in and I'll just say, nobody wants to learn anymore. I need a tub of ice cream. What is going on in learning? And so we write on the wall, we write answers, we just try to do a lot of thinking. And there's one thing we wrote on one of the walls, and I actually pulled up the picture so I could read it to you all, where I asked my team, okay, in an era of generative AI, to a student, what do I tell my faculty? What do I say to educators? Why are we here? And through some back and forth, I think we came up with two things. Our great focus is we need to cultivate an ecosystem where learners can care about their work that they do with integrity. And then the responsibility of an educator is to provide motivation, value, and opportunity. I think it has never been more important, never been more relevant than now, that all of those problems that we already had in online learning, in higher ed, look, and there were problems before. Gen AI did not come in and bring a new problem. It exacerbated the problems that we have. Hot take, I have two hot takes in this rant of my own. The first is generative AI is not the problem. Scale is the problem, everyone. And it's been a problem for a very long time. All Gen AI has done is said, we cannot push this off to the side anymore. We need to address this now. So scale is that massive problem. I also think it's it can be very dangerous if we approach generative AI as just a tool. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying that I don't use it like a tool, but I think it's important to see that, you know, people. I'm introducing my son to R&B. He's almost 2 years old, and it is very important to me that he knows what his dad's excellent music taste sounds like. I created a Spotify playlist for him, and we've been listening to it for the last 2.5 weeks. I did a little dive because I was like, maybe I want to take him to his first concert to one of these new R&B artists. I found out at the end of the day that an overwhelming majority of the artists on that playlist were AI tools. They were AI art. They were not real people. I don't know where it went from inception to. I am listening to AI make music that I think is beautiful, and I'm sharing with my 2-year-old. And what that brought me to, what that realization is, and it keeps on compounding is, I think it's dangerous if we look at generative AI as just a tool. And the reason that I think like that is because if you look at how OpenAI or Anthropic talks about these generative AI models, they don't talk about them just as tools. Claude has a constitution. We covered it in one of my philosophy courses about its morality, how it approaches, how it works, how it should communicate with you. OpenAI's goal is not to build a really good AI tool to help us with our emails. It's to create artificial general intelligence. And the reason that I bring that concept up and I bring the example of listening to music and being in love with music and sharing it with your child is because if we keep on looking at these things as just tools, we miss the problem that they are surfacing and the opportunity that they are creating for us to fill in a gap that we should have been filling in. And that is to develop, grow, and highlight the importance and the value of human moments, of human touch, of human ability, the ability to look to your students and say, hey, you're taking this course. It's not just to get a job. You're taking this course to learn the skills to be healthier, more successful, and honestly, to not only make money to feed your family, but to learn how to learn. I'm a huge, huge, huge advocate of stop saying we need to learn the 21st century skill of critical thinking. Critical thinking has always been important. But y'all, we lost that battle with social media most recently. What generative AI is doing right now that is being really, really problematic for us is foundational knowledge. It has made it so easy to outsource the component of foundational. Why learn this? Why even have these small, why learn the math behind this? Why learn the dates? Why have any of those things be relevant to me? We need to get that message very clear. And the way we do that is by saying, hey, generative AI is not just this tool. They're trying to make a human brain. And when I see that, I need to then shift off of this is just teaching them how to use it and saying, well, what is this bringing up that we need to reshift priorities? We need to teach them why learning how to learn is important. We need to advocate why foundational knowledge is valuable, why going through this with integrity can be important. How sitting in my class and spending 3 hours on perusal in Harmonize, on Yellow Dig, is advantageous to you, your future goals, and the communities that you want to serve. And so I'm a huge advocate of like we need to show and let students kind of crash against and work with generative AI. But more than that, we need to articulate and address those things that we knew were problematic in learning already. Personalized learning, why you're here, and what do you do with this human connection? How is and why is this valuable? I'm sorry.
I feel like I was taken to the hill and back. No, but a positive friction. And to Charlotte's point, learning how to learn is important. I want to maybe make you feel better, Michael. I will give a quick story myself, is that I've been working with one of the AI prompts to sort of work through some strategic thinking. And as I'm having this dialogue, it is telling me, excellent point. I'll add that note. This is the exact right time to ask that question. And so my head keeps getting inflated as I'm having these conversations. And then I actually bring a printout to one of my coworkers and go, this is not practical at all. So
Kevin, I think about that for relationships. Imagine our children growing up and being like, you're not listening to me. You're like pushing back. You're not telling me that that is okay. Maybe I'm the gloom and doom person. I just realized what my role on the panel is. My bad.
Well, let me build on this with a slight turn. And Tina, I'm going to ask you to sort of be prepped for this. But building on what Michael and Whitney just shared, we obviously have AI that is developing at this rapid pace, and what we can do today is far different than what we could do just 6 months ago. But at the core here, we still have issues around trust, whether that's data integrity, accessibility, whatever the case might be. Understanding that we still want faculty to sort of explore, embrace AI in the right framing, how do instructional designers help put guardrails in place, even though we don't know necessarily, to go back to the road metaphor, where the road's heading or if it's fully paved yet?
I think I'm going to answer that a little differently than maybe you're hoping. One of the things, Michael, one of your things made me think about the role of instructional designer and how we need to shift our not only our approaches, but really tap into the dynamic nature of how we understand what we understand learning science to be. I think we spend so much time thinking about kind of knowledge acquisition, skill development, etc. And we are not thinking enough about the metacognitive and emotional parts of learning, right? And I think as learning designers, that is kind of I think our call to action is we need to rethink our own discipline as learning designers because it's going to require us to develop a whole different skill set than what we've been taught, what we have taught in the past. So in terms of guardrails, I do think the time is here for us to think creatively about policies. You think about the hockey metaphor of, skate to where the puck's going to be. I think there's no way we're going to keep up with the evolution of AI. And so we need to think about what are the structures we need to put in place to prepare us for the dynamism of the evolution of this technology, because as soon as the ink dries, not that anyone prints anything anymore, but as soon as the ink dries on our policies, the world shifts. So we need to think more structurally about having those critical conversations around what it means to act and interact with knowledge and information and our work in authentic and with integrity. So I think in order to, rather than taking a technology or a policy solution, we need to go take a step back and really think about the nature of what are the paradigms we put in place around trust and those critical conversations that need to happen. But I'm feeling kind of philosophical today, so my lawyers may have different answers to that question, but I do think that I think it's more around the structures we need to put in place to have those meaningful conversations at scale.
If I oversimplify this, is this going back to we have to Maslow before we bloom? All right.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, yeah.
So, Michael, I'm going to give you an opportunity to come back on the stage again and follow up Tina. Do you have anything that you want to add? You seem to have a reaction, especially when we started talking about metacognition.
Oh, I mean, you have no idea how, when we're talking about what are the key struggles for our learners, especially our online learners or adult learners, it is the value of that metacognition, that thinking about your thinking why, diving deeper into it. And I love being a learning science nerd because you start saying, "Oh, this is the problem." You're like, "Oh my gosh, there's research on this." Oh my gosh, isn't that what Socrates and Plato were talking about at the beginning of all this regard? Isn't that why we teach the Socratic method? Isn't this the foundation for all of those components? Which it just echoes again and again, right? These are problems we knew we already had. Generative AI is just exacerbating it. I will say if we're talking about data and privacy concerns as well, and what the ID's role is there, I need to say something to the IDs in the room that I hope will free you all on this. I don't think that's our battle, and I don't think we're going to win that. I think our DOITs need to get together and need to be real uncomfortable and make some policies and draw some lines. And then our faculty, our students, and just life are going to push those boundaries and we're going to move that mark. I think it's very difficult for our teams, for an instructional designer to be able to shift in that space and place, especially when like four of us like Copilot and the rest of us are using every other LLM out there. So I do think that's valid. I want to say if your assignments, if your engagement with learning is not eliciting and explicitly telling learners why metacognition is helpful to them, then we are absolutely missing the mark. One thing I talk to my students about the value of higher education now is I'm like, look, I can throw the data out there, right? What people earn, unemployment rates, even though now it's getting a little tricky, especially with certain groups. The one point that I always go back to is suicide rates as a result or in correlation to higher education experience. That says something bigger here. What is that value? It's not just that smart people, are not are not as in trouble as others are in this space. It's there's something valuable about this higher ed experience. And outsourcing that to generative AI is not the answer.
Brittany, would you care to follow up after Michael now?
Oh, that is challenging, isn't it? I want to go back to Tina's thought, and I may have to use this again, skate to where the puck is going to be. I find that line really poignant. I think when we talk about like trust and data, going back to your converse or your question, Kevin, the guardrails conversation around design and trying to think about how we protect whatever that protection might be, right? I think that gets framed as innovation versus safety, right? And I kind of reject that framing. I feel like the institutions that are moving the fastest on AI are not the ones that are ignoring risk. They're actually the ones that have done the work to understand where the real risks are so they can move confidently. And so that just kind of helps me sleep at night a little bit too. Because I talked to a provost recently who said, we formed a committee and we're thinking about getting a sandbox. And I thought, ooh, this is not 2022. What? But moving slow to then go fast does make sense, right? So like there is some thoughtfulness to some of this that really matters. And there are areas where AI is being kind of kept out of conversations or technologies. So that's interesting. When we think about the current issue around accessibility, that's a non-negotiable. Somebody brought up earlier that we could use AI to kind of offload some of that work, make that go faster. I think that was you, Paige. I think that's a really helpful use case, right? To be able to make sure that we're moving the needle on that. For larger institutions, I think that deadline is in like 23 days, right? So it is right around the corner. Smaller institutions, you have one more year in order to make sure everything's accessibly compliant. The piece around that accessibility bit is I talked to somebody from the Office of Civil Liberties not terribly long ago. She's not there anymore, but she's an attorney. She said, as soon as that date comes, guarantee there'll be stacks of lawsuits, right? And that's when we tend to listen. So I go back to that skate to where the puck is going to be. If we had been doing that all along, we would have gotten to accessibility faster, right? But we're still struggling there, right? I also think there's this issue of academic integrity, right? That's probably one of the most interesting conversations happening right now around AI, because faculty genuinely are concerned that students are using AI to shortcut their learning experience. There's something productive in the brain when you struggle, right? That productive struggle is where the learning happens. But I think, we need to move from the question, how do we detect AI use, and start thinking about how we design so that AI is either irrelevant or visible, And that's a design challenge worth taking on, right? We've talked about authentic assessment, oral defenses, iterative portfolio work, tasks that are embedded in like clinical or community contexts so that we get to better pedagogy, right? So that's really critical to our work going forward. And I think that's exactly what instructional designers need to be thinking about and focused on when it comes to kind of trust and where we're headed in this space.
Would you, I'm just curious, before Paige, you close us out, what about the phrase measure what matters? Do you feel that sometimes this whole academic integrity sort of conflates the use of AI and saying, oh, if you use AI, it's cheating across the board, but that's in the way that you're using AI, it may not be a measurable part of what this learning experience is. Do we have to talk between designer and faculty about focusing on what matters?
Yeah, I think that's part of the heart of the conversation between the ID and the faculty member regularly. I think one of my favorite sessions at the first UCF AI conference was a faculty member, or no, maybe it was somebody in the UCF team who was talking about a course they teach. And if you're here, let me know because I'm a fangirl of your session. You were doing a thing where the students were evaluating the various Marvel characters and having AI write kind of how the characters were interplaying with one another, and then there were citations included that AI generated as they wrote this like character brief. And then the students were then asked to go to EBSCOhost and go determine whether or not those resources were in the databases, right? Were actual or hallucinations, right? And so I thought, what a wonderful way to get novice folks who haven't used AI before to leverage AI and use it in a way that's like really positive, to like be inquisitive, right? I think the note for all instructional designers is part of the voodoo that you do so well is you stay curious, right? We're the question askers. We're the people that help those that know something so deeply that they forget that others don't know how to get to that depth, how to unpack the stair steps, right? To create the scaffolding to help the learner get to that ultimate goal of understanding what they need to do, what they need to know, that foundational piece that Michael was talking about, so that they can climb the ladder and go higher, or climb down the ladder and go deeper, maybe into the content area. So yeah.
Excellent. So Paige, you'll have the last word on this topic.
I doubt that. I think if I'm going back to your question about guardrails, we can have guardrails that are imposed from the outside. So federal, guidelines for things like accessibility and regular and substantive interaction. We can have guidelines that are set by our institutions, like AI policy. I think at the heart of this has to be a conversation about transparency. So whatever data you're using, whatever reference set, whatever content, whatever tool, whatever it is that you're doing, it should be obvious to people what you have done and what's been done for you. Because I think that's really the key in kind of highlighting this kind of juxtaposition, if you will. So I think if we are more transparent, then it's going to hopefully provide greater clarity as to what we think is important. And when is it that we're willing to offload things to AI and when are we not? I was looking at the Chronicle, I think maybe yesterday or today, and they were talking about the 3-year bachelor degree. Like that's the hot topic at the moment. And somebody in the article said, well, 4-year degrees are for faculty, they're not for students. Like the reason why we have 4-year degrees is because faculty came together and decided that a degree needed to be 4 years. And I thought, like, wow, that's a really wild way to think about higher ed. That, you're only taking these courses because a bunch of people got together and decided you had to. And I think that's speaking to maybe some of that transparency and clarity and the importance of learning. What is it that you're here to learn? What is it that we can give you that makes it possible for you to continue to learn after you're with us? And I think that's where, some of the conversation ties back to what Michael was talking about and Whitney, that if we're talking about metacognition, if we're talking about being able to understand how you learn, then we're going to be able to help direct you in the future to learn better, to learn more, to do things in a way that's more helpful for you. So you're not feeling like you're at the mercy of experts, if you will. You need to have the base foundational skills, right? The knowledge, because if not, you can't decide if something is hallucinated or not. You're not going to be able to figure that out. And I think for me, the thing I think that's kind of lurking in the background is that higher ed becomes just job training. And if it did, like, what are we doing if that's all we're supposed to do is train you to do some kind of task? So I feel for me, higher ed needs to maybe spend a little bit more time clarifying itself, maybe sitting down, thinking about like what is it that we really need to do for our students and our communities. Because we have a lot of students out there and a lot of people in general who have stopped trusting higher ed. They've stopped thinking I need a degree for anything. I'm just going to go get job training. Why would I spend time in college? I think all of those things are connected.
I absolutely agree. We just mentioned earlier about Claude and having it be able to teach you skills and talent. And we have pressures against higher ed now between, alternate credential routes and what have you. But we've covered a lot in this session. And I don't know that we're going to cover much more in a lot of time, but I did want to ask one last question to the panelists, and then leave a few minutes left for questions. As we're talking about when should we use AI, under what circumstances, what sacrifices are we doing? Are we ensuring that we're doing it with the right intent and the right situation? Specifically to instructional designers, in your opinion, what design practice do we need to unlearn because of AI? And Whitney, I'm going to let you go first, or ask you to go first.
Okay. I think we have to unlearn designing for compliance instead of designing for learning. Because we've spent decades building courses to get checked against rubrics and earn certification. Some of that matters. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge QM fan. I love the SUNY Oscar rubric. But a lot of this has been taught to us to optimize for boxes that get checked instead of outcomes. And it's really important that we get alignment right and we look at the experience we design and that we make sure that what we're creating for students has agency for them to be able to apply what they're learning. AI is going to make it easy to produce courses that check every box and teach nothing. So what we have to do is be the ones who won't let that happen.
If I could hit 100% agree, I would do that right this second. Tina, last comments?
Yeah, I think one of the things that instructional designers could or relearn is to broaden our aperture and look more away from necessarily course and lessons, but think about things more holistically and programmatically. I have my team getting more deeply engaged with faculty as they're ideating on programs. So Paige, your comment about the reduced credit hour bachelor's, but we're working more on how do we embed those different credentials, the micro credentials, how do we do apprenticeship or cooperative learning? And the instructional design lens adds so much value to that. So to really broaden what we think about in terms of learning, the whole learning experience, including co-curricular, I think instructional designers have much strength in that area and be able to bring a lot to the table. So I invite you all to be nosy and engage with your faculty kind of maybe beyond your swim lane. I'm a troublemaker today, aren't I?
That's the reason why we invite you. Paige, last thoughts?
I think, especially in higher ed, we think in terms of courses and credit hours, and we've been doing that for eons. So I think if we could think about learning in slightly different formats or buckets or whatever you want to call it, I think that would be helpful because I think we keep thinking of it's a 15-week course or semester long course, and then we divide it slightly differently if it's an 8 week. We're like we think in terms of the credit hour rather than thinking about what the learning actually takes. And I think that's going to be a continuous challenge, especially as we move more towards things like micro credentials. And I would say we also need to make sure that people are able to apply their learning. So just being able to, like, I went through a course and I took a test and I passed. Okay. But does that mean you actually understand?
Absolutely. Michael, I've seen the pained look on your face while you were preparing for this, so I'm waiting with great anticipation.
No, I think you're just gonna get paid back. I one incredible. Everyone. I thought I had an idea, and then of course, Paige, Whitney, Tina, you all said it, and I mean, Kevin, what an incredible question. I think what I'm gonna have to go to is I'm really big on design thinking. Like I read that book and the marketing caught me. Like I'm fully submitted. I'm subscribed. I'm about it. And I think something that we need to unlearn is brilliant people, efficient people, people who are measured by results. We go to ideate very fast. And what we need to spend more time on than ever before is that empathize and that define stage of design thinking. Because we need to be creating courses that our faculty enjoy logging in and grading the assignments, and that our students understand why they're learning and why learning it, maybe the more academic integrity route is valuable to their interest, however selfish those may be, and their future. I think that's the big thing. We need to focus on those two. And I think something else is we recently read a book. If you were in TOPkit day one, there was a phenomenal session from some IDs from a school at FIU in Miami, talking about unreasonable hospitality. I think we need to get back, not get back. I think we need to redefine that this needs to be the collaboration between instructional designer and faculty, instructional designer and students needs to be one where we welcome folks in to be transformed. I want to give a quick little example of this in my course. I'm teaching, it's a hybrid course. There's this one student who says nothing to me ever. I don't think he's paying attention. He doesn't even give me that like head nod when I have a really good, lecture point. But he sent me an email during spring break and said, Professor, my girlfriend goes to FSU and she wants to attend class this week. Is it okay? I talk about your class all the time, and she does not believe that we're doing the types of things that we're doing. And why I share that with you all is because we should be creating learning experiences for our faculty and our students that make them want to invite someone else into the learning journey. And if that is our goal, if that's how we start define and empathize, if that's where we start, then we have responded to generative AI's biggest threat to our work, to what we're supposed to do.
That was fantastic. Now, I know we're at time, and I'm going to do a quick head check. If the panelists wouldn't mind staying maybe 2 minutes longer, if folks have questions, I know that we're going to go into a break, but I would love for everybody to join me in thanking the panelists. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I do. I learn something new each year from each one of these panelists, and I enjoy so much talking with them and hope that we have year 4. Charlotte, do you need to interject to direct traffic?
Yeah, so you guys are truly the best. And Subi is actually going to take over for our breaks as I'm going to be moderating a next session. But truly, I mean what I say in the chat. That was 45 minutes that felt like an hour and a half, but I was on every single minute of it. Truly, this is such a great conversation. Every single year you guys come back, you make everybody think, and I really do think that there's going to be continued conversation because there always is. Kevin, is there going to be a good place that people can reach out to our panelists if there's some conversation that can't be answered today or questions that can't be answered today?
If Charlotte, if you wouldn't mind being the point person, we could redirect whatever questions you field to the group and we will get back as soon as we can.
You heard it from Kevin, everybody. Email topkit@ucf.org. Thank you again so much, everybody, for all of your incredible insights. And as Kevin mentioned, we are going to open our breakout rooms now, but I think that our panelists are going to stick around in this main room if you want to stay back for maybe 7 minutes and ask any super burning questions. But for right now, I'm going to hand it over to Subi because our breakout rooms did just open.
Thank you, Charlotte, Kevin, and all the panelists. I'm so energized. It just gets my blood pumping. So it's a wonderful thing to start the afternoon. We are in our break and we do have some minutes here, so we definitely want to leave it open. I would just give a suggestion to the ones that are going to be presenting at 1:50. You're more than welcome to jump into your breakout room now and make sure your presentation is ready to go. So again, those presenting, go ahead and jump into a room, but otherwise we'll go ahead and we'll start the break. And since our panelists were so kind to stick around, please feel free to go ahead and post if you'd like or unmic. We have 50 people in here. I think they all ran to the restroom.
Excellent choice. Maslow before Bloom.
We did have a question, I will say, in the chat about the different breakout rooms and being able to see them all and also being able to come back and reference your wonderful panel presentation. We do record them. We are recording even the breakout rooms. So the panels that have happened, our keynote yesterday, all those will be available shortly.
Oh, earlier this morning.
Okay, got it.
You guys are in here. Yay, I'm so glad. Are you guys able to share your screen okay?
Let me check. I have things should be perfect. So I think we're good.
Beautiful. Okay, wonderful. So by when, I'm wondering, since I was an extra, I'm wondering, since you're co-host, do you think you'd be able to record this session and save it to, because Bywin has the access since she's a UCF person as well. Do you think you'd be able to record this session just on the off chance I have to go do tech support for something?
Sh sure. So I just need to press record.
Mhm.
Do I also have to introduce ourselves too?
I will introduce you.
Oh, okay. And then just after it's saved, I'll just put it in a folder.
That would be so incredible. You're the best.
Okay,
But
that
yes,
sounds
I'll introduce you and I'll be here, and I should be here the whole time. But just in case, since these breakout rooms are a little bit finicky, if I leave the breakout room, the recording will have to stop. So it's just one of those fun little feature or flaws of Zoom breakout rooms. Awesome. Well, it looks like you ladies are ready to go. So we have 5 minutes, and I see that Marilyn is already in here. Hi, Marilyn. And I'm so excited for your session today, guys. Woohoo!
Yeah, we have really good interactions in TOPkit.
Genuinely, yeah. That's, I think, the big difference between TOPkit and a lot of the virtual seminar styles is that virtual seminars are often led in seminar mode where the participants can't unmute and interact. So it's more like, you're watching somebody on a screen and you can sometimes participate in chat, but we really like people to unmute and talk to each other. But given that you guys have 30 minutes, I understand that we might not have time to do that on a 30-minute presentation. Yeah, ooh, and another quick question for you ladies. Would you like me to give you a little heads up at 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and 1 minute, or are you good on the time and watching it?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Sure.
I don't think I want a 10-minute.
Okay, that sounds good. It is really short, so I totally get it. I'll give you guys one at 5 minutes. Awesome. Well, we still have 4 minutes to go. So cool, cool. Oh, did you guys do any April Fool's jokes today?
No. I've talked to so few people today.
Oh, really?
I didn't even have the chance.
I was given this morning, I was given the opportunity to eat brownies by my 7-year-old daughter. And she comes out with this classic platter of cut out letter E's on a platter. And that was
Brown
that was the
E's.
trick that was played on me, that they were just literal brown colored paper E's, capital E's. And I was like, oh
Oh.
gosh, I was looking forward to brownies. This is kind of a bummer, actually. And my son played a trick on her, and that was he said he got her cereal ready, but I didn't realize that he had taken a bowl of cereal last night, put it in the freezer, frozen the
Oh,
milk and cereal, and handed that to her this morning for breakfast. But I thought he was being nice, and he was actually
yeah.
he was actually tricking her. Oh, so funny though. Awesome. Well, in 2 minutes we'll get started, ladies. And I'm so
Okay.
excited to get everything going. Woohoo! We still have people coming in. Awesome. Welcome. We'll go ahead and get started very shortly. It is almost time. We're at 11, or sorry, 1:58 p.m. Welcome to Lissa. Well, welcome, Marilyn. And if you guys want to say hi in the chat and where you're from, we'll get started very shortly. Yeah, I always say I'm from Orlando, but I'm actually from Winter Springs. So, hi, everybody. Hey, Talisa, good to see you again. Awesome, and it is time to go. By when, if you wouldn't mind hitting record, I'd be
Okay.
very grateful, although I am recording as well.
It's recording.
Awesome. So welcome everybody to our amazing breakout session on Faculty Voices on Accessibility. Today we have Baiwen Chen from UCF and Catherine Springer from Johns Hopkins University. And this is a collaborative multi-institutional study of STEM teaching practices. So it is with a very excited demeanor that I welcome you two to present. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take it away.
I feel like you covered our intro, Charlotte. I don't have much more to add to that. I'll say specifically, because it relates to the survey that we did. I'm an instructional designer in the Whiting School of Engineering at Hopkins. So the faculty that I work with are all engineering and STEM related. Bit little, actually. Okay, here we go. So we thought we'd go ahead and start off. We have a few polls, and this is really just open forum answer in chat. But we thought we'd start off by asking what disciplines do you support? Do you focus on STEM faculty, completely different field? Feel free to answer in the chat. I have it pulled up so I can actually see responses. And Bywin and I aren't the only ones behind this survey study. So we do want to acknowledge the work and collaboration of Jeffrey Kwan from The Ohio State University, Rosalind Miller from UCF, and then from Hopkins, Melissa Rizzuto and Sarah Schunkweiler.
So Katie, it looks like we have a couple of chats here. So people are coming from all different disciplines, not specifically for STEM.
Nice. And then this was mentioned in the earlier session, but just as a kind of pulse check here, how prepared do you feel your institution is for that April, I think 24th, ADA Title II deadline. Making progress, but more to do. Yeah. There's
The
positivity,
Charlotte
but
is
there's
the
always
winner.
room for growth. And that really leads me into just talking about the general ADA landscape. So we wanted to provide background for our research. We know that over 4 million students at US institutions have a disability, and that number is deceptive because they may not disclose. Many students certainly feel fear, judgment, or stigma, and accommodation processes, as we know, can be complex. So many students may navigate college without formal support. And just understanding that landscape of faculty accessibility practices is particularly pressing because of that Title II deadline that we just mentioned for course materials in public universities. And as the creators and managers of that content, faculty really are the front line. And STEM content in particular has definite accessibility challenges. So I did want to cover this. Hopefully you'll see echoed in some of our results as well. But the National Disability Center for Student Success recently published their national report on faculty accessibility practices. And their main findings were that time constraints are a key factor limiting faculty seeking out training, that faculty fear being barriers to student success, kind of not being proactive enough in encouraging students to use the available support, that they prefer collaboration over an enforcement approach. So a partnership approach to accessibility with solutions that are co-designed with students, and that faculty disability status increases their personal confidence level, but not the institutional support that's available to them. And lastly, that many faculty end up learning accessibility strategies on their own through trial and error or self-directed learning. Okay. So just to kind of give you brief demographics and profiles of our respondents, we collected responses from last October through January of this year from 112 STEM faculty and TAs from Hopkins and UCF in STEM fields ranging from engineering to biology, chemistry, computer science. And in terms of representative samples, we had roughly equal identifying male and female, 3% identified as non-binary, and 60% white, 18% Asian. 20% of faculty were tenured. Then we had about 40% teaching faculty, and then balancing it out again, 21% or so were TAs. And respondent experience was fairly evenly spread from, we had categories of 0 to 3, all the way to over 16. And then they represented diverse class sizes, although the majority of faculty had fewer than 50 students enrolled in their courses. So before we actually dive into more detailed results, I want to cover our summary. We found over 80% of respondents do agree that accessible content benefits all students. So there's faculty buy-in for these accessible practices. However, 54% of faculty are kind of stuck at the beginning of the implementation phase. Some of their materials accessible, but they know it needs more work, and their confidence in making materials accessible is critically low. And finally, their number one request is human support, specifically in the form of dedicated accessibility support staff and resources like knowledge bases and examples for the content they need to create. So I'll pass it over to Baiwen to begin discussing those results.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for setting up the context of the survey research. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the detailed results. So first of all, this survey instrument, we have created this survey ourselves. So we included 11 accessibility question groups of 4 different constructs. So they are perceptions, confidence, practice, support, and also 10 demographic questions. So as you can see, the reliability scores show pretty strong consistency across all areas. So indicating that our faculty respondents responded in a reliable and predictable way that we can trust the patterns that we see here. The next slides. And so the main findings of this survey shows clear differences and statistically significant differences across how faculty think about accessibility and how confident they feel, what they actually do, and how supported they are. So as you can see, the left blue bar, so this represents their perceptions. So faculty members' perceptions are still strong. It's just their confidence, practice, and support and lag behind. So this definitely highlights a statistically significant, meaningful gap between belief and implementation. So the next construct is perception. So we have 5 survey question groups asking faculty about how they perceive the value of accessibility. So this slide showed universal beliefs in accessibility across the board, and faculty, they strongly agree that accessibility supports student success, not just for students with disabilities, but for everyone, including both online and face-to-face STEM courses. So this shared belief is one of the strongest and most consistent findings in our data. And of course, the faculty members who chose voluntarily to complete this survey probably tend to believe in accessibility than others who have not participated in the survey. Okay, so this one, and actually, even though they universally believe in accessibility, we find a statistical difference by class size. The mid-sized class between 51 to 200 students class, we find that their belief in accessibility actually is lower than either the small class or the large class. The reason that we thought could be that either the small class size, and because of the class size is small, instructors have more time to really build the class with their students. And the large size class, they have instructors rely more on systems. They have online systems to build for their course, and also they have maybe teaching assistants to help them. So, but in between the mid-sized classes, the instructors, they just have little resources to make their classes accessible. So the second construct is the confidence. So we have included 3 survey question groups regarding the confidence. So even though faculty believe accessibility matters, and many, they are not fully confident in how to do it, and especially for the technical and the discipline-specific tasks, such as math notations and technical videos. And out of 5, faculty rated their confidence level to be around 3.2. And the rating is especially low with producing accessible complex graphics. So this points to a need for targeted practical support from maybe us, instructional designers, from their department. The next one, Katie, please. going to transition back to you.
All right, I'll pick up with practice and challenges. So I mentioned earlier that the majority of faculty have started implementation, but they know that they need improvement. So in this chart here, that's the 55% of respondents. Only 17% said that their materials follow accessibility best practices and there's not room for improvement there. And then the remaining respondents either had not begun implementation yet or weren't familiar with accessibility practices. And the specific practices that we ask about really illustrate that faculty prioritize static documents over more complex or dynamic media or formats. So something like making images accessible and captioning videos, those were definitely lower than I expected. And tactile models, 3D prints were the least implemented. And so top challenges for them, once again, just like the national survey that we mentioned, the number one thing is time constraints. Second is lack of awareness of best practices, then lack of institutional resources, whether that's having tools to do the work or direct staff support. Then difficulty adapting materials, likely just the complexity of STEM content. Lack of training opportunities, and lastly, lack of support. So I do have another poll question if you want to answer in the chat. So what are the top challenges to implementing accessibility that you and any faculty you've worked with face? If any of those answers, yeah, time for sure. Yeah, I think there's a reason it's the number one answer. Reaching folks who need it most. That's a really good point. And I've mentioned this when we've done this presentation before, but kind of marketing the training and support that we offer, making sure that faculty know they can attend live sessions or the knowledge base is here and covers all of this material. Yeah, really good points there. And I have included some quotes. So this is direct quotes from faculty speaking to faculty feeling like they don't have enough time or support. This first one, sadly, I simply need fewer classes to teach so that I have time to do this. Another variation of that, with 90% of my salary being research grant funded, I'm not able to allocate much time to making course material accessible. The third, I've never been offered support for creating accessible course materials. I feel on my own as an instructor. And then lastly, the instructor saying that checking accessibility is a TA task, meaning rather than an instructor's. I'm not sure which university that response came from, but that might be a training or a role discrepancy problem there, because Baiwen and I are both, I don't know where that idea came from.
Yeah, we definitely had a good laugh.
And I think I'm passing back to you for support, Baiwen.
Yes, so the last constructed support, we have 5 question groups. So here, this slide reflects how a supported faculty feel by their institutions, such as access to training, clear guidance, tools, and staff support. So while some resources are available, the many faculty, they still report that their institutions, they are ineffective at enforcing accessibility policies rather than creating a systematic approach to support them. The next slide. So when asked how they want to learn about accessibility, and faculty members, they clearly prefer flexible, practical options and self-paced resources and concrete course examples rank the highest, and while the traditional workshops and webinars, they are much less appealing to our respondents. And this slide highlights a mismatch between how accessibility training is typically offered right now, that's in blue color, and how the faculty members, they actually want to learn in the orange strike colors. And so as you can see, and with course exemplars and synchronous workshops, so that's where we see the biggest gap. So this message is definitely clear that we should provide more course exemplars and fewer synchronous webinars and workshops. And when we ask them what would help you most, faculty and respondents, they wanted hands-on human support, dedicated staff members, and targeted trainings and access to the right tools consistently, and that those ranked higher than policies or mandates. And then they request more like a concierge service model rather than a DIY and self-service model. And that's both at Johns Hopkins and UCF. I think that's what we do, mostly DIY models for faculty members. And here we also have some examples of feedback from our faculty members to talk about their support. So it doesn't look like they are very impressed with the tools that they have been offered. And some of them, they have attended workshops, but didn't feel like they really learned too much. So the dominant theme here is just a desire for a dedicated expertise, people and tools, and also clear institutional policies and practices. So that could enable instructors to meet the accessibility needs without overwhelming their existing heavy workload. So here to sum up on our survey results. So the data suggests that STEM faculty are motivated by the pedagogical value of accessibility, but are overwhelmed by the time and the technical expertise required to implement it. So to bridge this gap, the findings indicate that number one, to build centralized accessibility support and shared workflows with faculty. And number two, to solve the STEM specific challenges. And there's definitely a need for discipline specific support, such as experts who can assist with LaTeX and complex graphical conversions. And number three is a move away from long general trainings towards more streamlined resource-based how-to guides and templates. So we'll leave you with a few practical resources that you can use after the session. So this include, we have the first link is a national report that we referenced early on in this presentation, the National Report on Faculty Accessibility Practice. And then the second one is the author guidelines for preparing accessible mathematical content. So this guideline was co-authored by one of our collaborators, Jeff Kwong. And also the third tool is a spreadsheet that we compiled together of different tools for accessible math content presentation. So with that, and if you have any questions, so feel free to let us know.
Yeah, and that's perfect timing because I was just about to give you the 5 minute hands up. So I actually do have a question. Did you have any, especially in the open responses, did you have any responses that really surprised you? Because when I was looking at those initial statistics, it seems like everybody said it was important, but I can't remember the fourth bar graph down was 75%, and I can't remember what that one was. But was there anybody who anything that surprised you or anybody who might have mentioned that accessibility wasn't their top concern in STEM fields.
I think in this survey, we see that the participants, they really showed a high value in how accessibility is important for students of both online and face-to-face classes in all different disciplines, including STEM. One of the reasons we probably is because just the people who voluntarily completed the survey, they care more about accessibility. We definitely, in the open-ended results, we do see that they felt like they don't know. I think in one of the results areas, what they would like to, what trainings were offered to them versus what they want. And there's like 20 some respondents say that they don't know what was offered. Oh, 12 actually, 12 participants, they said they don't know what was offered. And this is from UCF and from Johns Hopkins. So as instructional designers working for the institutions, we are pretty sure that we consistently provide trainings. Maybe it's just not the type that they prefer and not on the specific STEM and expertise that they need.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to thank you for this. The training mismatch, we have that as well, a little bit with our faculty. I noticed that a lot of them say they want self-paced, but then they want that human touch, that facilitator present. How are y'all kind of addressing that?
Yes, so that's a very good point. It definitely looks like it's not consistent. So they wanted the course exemplars, but at the same time, the number one demand that they have is faculty. It's human support that they want. They want human support to help them to do everything, to implement everything. But again, I think this is still and at a stage where many of our STEM faculty members, they don't really know exactly how to convert LaTeX, what are the different accessibility tools for math presentations, what tools are accessible, what tools are not accessible. So I think they're still confused. So I think it would be good for us to have the exemplars to show them. So I think that's important. But at the same time, and they really want somebody to help. So far, we have I don't think we have enough people to work with faculty members on converting this. But and to be honest, I think they are right. Teaching assistants are very helpful. So they know the course content. They are able to work with mathematics, physics. So we did have some teaching assistant or graduate student assistants helping faculty members convert handwritten formulas, visuals from those inaccessible formats to be accessible and MathML and Canvas pages.
Thank you.
And I'll just add on, I think for your central question, Liz, like my group, still looking at these results and thinking, okay, well, how might we shift how we do things for faculty development? We always time that with the start of semesters because we know that's, keying up to that's when faculty are focused on it most. So that's still in process. But we are also really focused on getting together examples of all of this because that's the biggest thing. It's like, well, it's a gray box until they've seen it and exactly what we want. And running through a kind of course development process, we know that we need to enhance what IDs tell them specifically when they begin working with us. So this will be the expectation for all of these different kinds of materials. And then just general training. We do kind of a cohort format. So making sure that that cohort outside of what an individual ID will explain to you and work with you on, that you get this information up front. So we're building up what we already had in place for sure.
Nice. Thank you.
Marilyn, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Um, I'm in Tallahassee, and what my question is, and I may have missed it when we first started taking the break, and I went to the ladies' room. Okay, but did you create or develop your own training? And if you did, or did you use a third party type training? And if you did develop your own training, who did you use for a subject matter expert? Or what resources did you use?
I at UCF we don't use third-party trainings, and we do have created and the You Do It tool here at UCF, so that's available for all of our faculty members here. They can use that, and we have constant trainings on how to use the You Do It.
Mhm.
But to be honest, I still think there's a big gap in terms of STEM accessibility, where and that's still a need here on campus.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
same. My group at Hopkins, we develop the faculty development offerings that we provide. So it's the instructional designers, and we have another team that are instructional technologists who will do even more in detail how to use specific tools, how to do certain things in campus and how.
Okay. I just was wondering if you used somebody, on campus that specialized in accessibility, or yeah, or whether or not, like I said, the design team did it, and where did you pull your resources from? I mean, you just did basic research, or you have someone on your campus that leads that area, is what I'm asking. Yes.
Yeah, we do have an accessibility office on campus. They try
Mm-hmm.
to provide online digital accessibility support, but they have very limited resources. So
Okay.
for the longest time, they only have one person. It's a one-person team that she serves as the director. And then
Okay.
she started to have a couple of graduate students to help her. And
Okay.
now we also help as instructional designers directly
Right.
working with faculty members.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
think it was a wonderful presentation, so thank you.
Yes, I
Thank
wanted to
you.
thank you, both of you, for such an amazing presentation and such a wonderful cross-collaborative research study. I love that you got similar insights that can be applicable to so many of us as we're trying to go into compliance. So thank you again so much.
And
Um,
actually, we met in TOPkit, I think 2 or 3 years ago, right? That's
did
when
you
we
really?
get
Yeah.
connected. Yes.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, if you have any additional questions, the breakout rooms are going to be closed in about 27 seconds, but we can meet out in the main room and continue any discussion. Thank
Thank
you
you.
again so much, everybody. Have a great one.
240 Connect sessions, please feel free to go ahead and jump into one of the breakout rooms. Some of you I know like to jump in there and then go get your break. So however best you get into that room. But again, we'll have a break from 2:30 to 2:40, and then at 2:40, we'll start our next session of presenters.
Absolutely. And our rooms are now open. So if you would like, you can either take a break, like Sue said, you can run to take a little break, or you can also click down at the bottom where it says breakout rooms. And all of our sessions have been reassigned with the title of our corresponding presentations. So please feel free to take a break or go straight to your breakout. Thanks, guys. Awesome. How did it go in here, Subi? So far, so good?
Yeah, it went really well. There was a
Awesome.
couple people that for some reason the breakout rooms were acting wacky.
Mhm.
One, I was able to go assign them and they were able to enter, and one had to leave and come back. And once she came back, we were able to get her right into a room. So,
Okay, great.
matter of minutes, everybody was where they
All right.
needed to be.
Fantastic. Well, I'm
Yep,
very
it
glad
worked
to hear
out really
that.
great.
Knock on wood.
Smooth sailing.
Exactly.
I still haven't quite found some circus music yet, though. So it's awfully quiet when I'm not talking. But at least we have the plethora of information on the screen. And I was telling everybody if they don't know the full abstract, they can head back to Sched, and Sched's got more of a description for each of them. So that's something they can do during the 10 minutes as well.
Hmm. And honestly, I was kind of bummed this morning. I showed everybody the new music that I'd gotten. It was, fun circus music, not creepy. And then it crashed my computer again. So I don't know if you saw my face, but again, it's like I cannot play music, receive video, and stream video at the same time. That is a triple threat for me.
And it's a pretty new computer, right? You
I
haven't had it that
know.
long.
Yeah.
Wow.
So too many things at once.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let me go ahead and get the timer. All right, welcome. I know some of you are joining us now so that you can jump into our next group of concurrent sessions. Those will start at about 2:40. So you can either hang out here till then, or if you think you know where you want to go, if you head to the Zoom breakout rooms, clicking that tool will open up all four rooms, and you can jump into the room you want. If you are one of the presenters, please go ahead and jump into the room. The moderators are in there, ready to help you set up and get you ready to go. Otherwise, we have just less than 6 minutes, and those wonderful next sessions will begin.
And yep, I'm doing my best. If I see the presenters come in, I'm doing my best to send them that way.
It's like Star Trek traveling. They'll just get zapped right into the room they need to be in.
Exactly.
If only life was that easy.
Really, especially with gas prices, girl.
Absolutely. Gas and groceries. That's about all you can afford to do.
Mhm. And I think you've seen, I love my old Mercedes Benz. It's such a fun car to drive, but oh my gosh, I do not love paying for premium gas. It is getting real old.
Ooh, how
Uh-huh.
many tanks? Do you know how many tanks it holds or gallons?
I think it's about 10.
Wow, mine's a 17 gallon, and man, I feel so broke when I fill it up. It's
Uh-huh.
amazing.
Yeah, I can't fill it up all at once. It hurts my soul.
Welcome, everyone. Charlotte and I are just chit-chatting this afternoon. We're on our break, so please feel free to take a break. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and start at about 2:40, and we have four wonderful presenters coming up. So again, feel free to take a break or head into one of our Zoom sessions.
Welcome, everybody.
They're currently loading the astronauts into the Artemis. So far so good.
That's
Launch
so
here in about 4 hours.
I can't wait. My kids and I are all going to go out and watch. Super
Yeah,
exciting.
the Artemis rocket is so large, they said viewing will be available all the way up to Savannah.
Wow, thank you for sharing that reminder.
Uh-huh. 6:24 is when the window opens, and it's a 2-hour window.
Yep,
Although
we
they're
are.
saying because of winds and stuff, they're probably going to try to do it as quickly as possible at the beginning of the window.
Cool.
It is all loaded with fuel. They're currently strapping the astronauts in, and then they just have to sit there for 4 hours
Isn't that amazing? That's a long time.
to lay on their back. Yes.
Yeah, we're planning on having a picnic outside for dinner tonight.
Oh, that's
Hopefully,
a
we won't
great
miss it. I
idea.
mean, I'm just going to sit outside. The weather's beautiful. It's a great time to, try to view the Artemis, which is a big deal. But
Campus is another good place to watch. I wonder if they have like open, the stadium or because the stadium, the 50-yard line of the football stadium at UCF is aligned with the main launch pad at Kennedy Space Center.
I think I heard that. They've posted some really cool pictures from that happening
Yeah.
as well.
I've been to a couple football games where they'll have a launch during, like right after the game, and they keep the stadium open and play, music and stuff, and you can see the launch right over the stadium. It's pretty cool because it's,
Very cool.
especially when you're up at the top, you're, high up above all the trees and everything. So it's
That
going to
is
be
something
fun
that they
in a
can
few hours.
They should do that. That would be like a regular thing they should do. That's really neat.
Mhm.
All right, for those of you just joining us, we have about 2 minutes left in our break, and then we will head to breakout rooms. We have four wonderful presentations happening in about 2 minutes. So if you'd like to, go ahead and head to one of the or head to the breakout rooms tool, and then from there, all the four rooms will pop up, and you're more than welcome to go ahead and join one of those rooms. Again, we have still about 2 minutes left, but if you know where you want to go, feel free to jump in there, and they'll be starting in just a couple minutes.
Yep, now's the time. So please, 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 if you're unassigned, choose a breakout session to attend. We have transforming course development, the grading blueprint, bringing book club vibes to course design, and pathways to ID data literacy, which honestly, I'm going to be jumping around and going to all four of these because they all sound incredible. Our sessions are all going to start in about 2 minutes, y'all. See you soon.
On a happy note, those of us who aren't jumping, they are being recorded. So thankfully, if you pick one and you still had a number two, please make sure you come back and check our recordings because those will be available for you as well. All right, we have less than
I'll get another participant or two, and we can, I think I'll go ahead and get started. I mean, because Angie has graciously been moderating while I was stepped away for half a moment. And so anyway, thank you, Angie. And Angie is
Hey, hey, everybody. Are you good to go in here?
we are
Wonderful.
just about to get started.
Fantastic. Just checking that everything's good. Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
Charlotte. Well, it is now 2:40, so we are going to begin. Welcome, everyone. Hope you had a good break.
We're excited to be here and excited to learn from you all in the next hour.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. We do have this little like respond in the chat before we get started. Feel free to do that. It's just, share a time that a book club memory sparked an unexpected conversation. So we're going to get started, but go ahead and respond in the chat if you would like. All right, so I'm Laura. I go by Poppy though, and I'm a learning designer from Innovative Education Digital Learning at the University of South Florida, Sarasota campus. That's a mouthful. And I'm here presenting with my team member, Bailey Cleveland, who is also a learning designer at the Sarasota campus. And in our role as learning designers, we partner with faculty to design and develop high quality online learning experiences. So in today's workshop, we have 3 outcomes that we would like you to leave with. At the end of this workshop, you should be able to define social annotation and explain its role in promoting student engagement and collaborative reading. Next is to compare different tools and strategies for implementing social annotations so that you can guide instructors toward the right fit for their course. And number 3 is to explain effective facilitation techniques. For example, prompt.
Send you over to the room.
Is done, right? Or is there additional changes that this time needs? Okay.
And if you just joined, you should see a Menti slide with a QR code there. Feel free to scan it. We just covered just the intro. The question, if you can't read it, is how often do you leverage data analytics to inform your ID processes and practices? Okay. Well, if the two that responded, it's occasionally, so that's good. Well, you'll be able to talk more about that in a minute. So not to don't get like cognitive overload immediately with this. Like stay kind of on to the left and at the top for the beginning. Let's kind of go through this systematically. It's a lot of information, but hopefully it makes sense when I kind of bring you through it. So you occasionally use data, but where can you leverage data from? And sometimes you don't use data because you don't know the data exists or you don't know how to collect it or to analyze it, right? So I'm going to bring you through the couple of models that I presented in a chapter that was recently written on what I'm calling the design API, which is basically this approach is like the planning stage. The process is similar to the design phase, and the impact will be the evaluation phase. So it helps you to think in those terms. It could be that. So let's focus on the top left one, which is the design approach. So in this planning phase, right, you have like resources that you might have at disposal or plans that you have to like, execute some idea. And within that, you'll have people, content, tools, and motivation. I'm going to give you a little glimpse into a table from the chapter just so you can kind of not be like, what does that mean? So on the left, you see this people, this column here, right? People, content, system. So that's what's over here on the left up here. And for each of these, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you have that for each. So at the program level, so it's not right. This process or planning happens in multiple levels of the institution, right? So at the program level, at the programmatic level, at the course level, and then at the component level, like for learning activities, right? So if you look at that, we've in the table, right, we identified some of the, potential data points, for lack of better terms, within that level, right? So, and this is not an exhaustive list, it's just some. At the course level, you'll see, again, a different set of people, different sort of content or motivations, etc. And these are flexible, can be defined. And then at the component level, you see more granular. So it's from like course, grained data to the most granular grained data around like activities, assessments, problems, and thoughts, inventories and taxonomies and all these sorts of more narrow sort of things that you might look at. Okay. So I wanted to show that so that you didn't just feel like this is some abstracted idea. And then likewise, as you go down, you'll have the design process. And again, you'll have a bunch of people doing a what or having goals, and then they're executing it with certain tools or ideas. And then there's a reason why they're doing that, most importantly, probably there as well. So I would like to take you on a journey through an instrument that we created for the last chapter, the second chapter we wrote in this sort of sequence of this idea around a self-assessment. But before that, I have another slide. Really quick, based on what I just said. At what phase, again, planning, designing, or evaluating, would you feel most comfortable leveraging the types of analytics that I showed? Planning, interesting. Okay. I don't know who's in the, and then designing, evaluating. Okay. So now we'll do the thing I was saying because I forgot that slide was there. And if you wouldn't mind, it would be helpful, and I'll do this kind of walk through it with you. It's not a super long battery of things. It's just bringing us through that model in a Qualtricsy type of way. So if you wouldn't mind, scan that and you'll see a sort of welcome page. It says welcome to the literacy self-assessment. This is something that you can spin up and use on your own terms as well. It's kind of just exposing you to the tool. I'm not using this data for anything other than just the exercise of today. So just a FYI, and your personal information isn't getting logged anywhere or anything like that. So this first one, you'll see it'll go down through all the program level stuff first. So it's going to take you through all this program level stuff for all of those things, impact and approach. Then I'll bring down the course, etc. So if you remember, it was like the who, the what, the how, and the why. So on this, you'll have sort of a couple of pages for each. Okay. So you got stakeholders, degree credentials, institutional tools, persistence, agree, disagree, or skip. You don't have to complete it. On the next page, you'll see confidence leveraging program analytics 4. This is more the design phase. Next would be stakeholders, curriculum maps, outcomes, activities of the committees and working groups. Okay. And then the idea of justifying the process. And hopefully, yeah, don't break your brain about this. I mean, just quick responses is fine. Just whatever comes naturally to you. So Last one on data analytics around impact. So degree completion, persistence, retention rates, and focus groups. That was all in the programmatic sort of space. From there, you'll get into the course level, and you'll go through those three sort of categories again, and then you'll do it once for impact. So I'll give you just a couple minutes to do that. And at the end, you'll see a score. And you don't have to disclose what it is, but when you do get your score, maybe just leave a thumbs up in the chat so I know, and then I will move on to the next slide. Yes. Well, if you do this thing, Charlotte, yeah, I'd love to see if that actually came true through the tool that you're less comfortable with the programmatic.
Oh, it definitely did.
Okay. You'd have to tell me the number. Yeah, the two dimensions are there though. You'll have the nested levels of the hierarchy on which we do stuff, and then you'll actually have the phases of practice too.
Oh yeah, as it went down, I was like, oh yeah, this is, as a former, instructor and current instructional designer, I could definitely tell what I was most comfortable with. Definitely.
Yeah. When it makes sense, right? If you're on the ground working, you're not making program level decisions necessarily a lot. That'll be an area that you're not, too keen on or even too just familiar with. So that makes total sense. I can't see people, but I don't see thumbs. So I'll give it just one more minute and I'll move on. Hey, thanks, Kate. While we have 30 seconds, did your assessment come out as you thought it would in terms of your score, in terms of comfortability? You can come off mic or you can just type it in the chat.
Yeah, mine definitely did,
Really?
Jim.
Okay. I'm glad you felt it aligned. Well, kind of. We'll see. We'll see how we can work through that. So based on those, and I don't know if I want to call them deficits, but areas where you feel there's growth that could occur, what barriers limit if you even want to be proficient in those areas, but let's say you do want to be proficient in certain areas, what barriers are limiting your ability to be able to, I don't know, score higher or leverage those data analytics more within those levels? We don't have a big group, so I mean, we could come off mic, but artist type. Some of the items don't align with my daily tasks. Okay. That's a good reason. Comfort with the LMS. Yeah, if you're trying to look at LMS data, you may not even have access to like the back end, out all the like clickstream data. So then you got to try to figure out how to get that through your LMS admin. And even if you do know, and you do have access to some of the course analytics just on the dashboards, what should I be looking for? Yeah, okay. Validated data, who owns the data? Yeah, good. I see two responses and two people, so I'm gonna just keep going from here, but thank you for that. Um, so this next part, I just want to talk about finding, the opportunities that you might not have thought that you had or something like that. So, as far as I'm concerned, how and when we should interact with data is frequently and intentionally. I don't think there's a minute, and again, this is just me, I guess, but that we don't think about it. And even in the keynote, I heard some people throwing the word data around. Whether they do anything with data, that's a whole other thing. But this process model below is something that we use just in something I do external to my current job, but something I work on with some folks through in IEEE. Is this creating standards around this field of learning engineering? But what really makes it click and tick is data instrumentation collection and evaluation are like really important to any process or any engineer if you know engineers or anything like that. And even for teachers, right? Who I would argue do engineer products, they just engineer instructional products. Be that as it may, I think the important part that we often forget, and sometimes we want to just look post, okay, course is over. What happened? I want to ask a bunch of questions now that the thing is done. Well, that may not be your most successful approach. So I would encourage you adamantly to ask a question, start with the question, and that's this challenge area in the middle, right? What do we want the data to tell us? Right, so understanding the opportunity to improve in the case of a course and with traditional students, the learning conditions, or in the case of faculty development, even the learning conditions for them to learn whatever you might be, think. So, you get to decide this question. There's no right or wrong question. Is by asking the question first, though, you kind of have a goal or something to look at for like okay looking forward because the next step after you say I want to know this is how do I get data? How do I create the mechanism by which to collect the data around that thing I want to know? So that's called like data instrumentation, right? So instrument while you're designing a course or designing an experience, it's important that you think about how am I going to collect data related to that question specifically, or this battery of things that I want to know with the tools that are at my disposal, with the people that I have on my team, or whatever it might be. They're all it's a team effort, right? It's never supposed to be an individual, data collection, analysis, evaluation. Hopefully, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. You should try to incorporate as many people as you can on the team because it's a very distributed type of work, and you may not have expertise in all of the stages, right, of this process. So instrumenting is it's an art of its own, right? Just figuring out like what data is already being collected by the instrumentation in the system. So like we get page views, you get scores on stuff, but maybe you want to know other things, right? And you may have to create surveys to get more qualitative, open responses from students, or be that, just imagine as many things you can think of to collect data on the questions that you're trying to ask, and those are opportunities. Again, no wrong way, but then when you get to so you instrument before you implement. When you get to the implementation, you actually deliver it, right? Then you're going to start to see like, are we getting the data that we need? And before you make a knee-jerk reaction to that, sometimes you just got to live with that and be like, well, okay, that's the good news is we can, when this ends, we can then not make a knee-jerk reaction now, but then we'll come and we'll look at this holistic and investigate, with some sort of analyses. And you don't have to be a statistical genius to run analyses on anything. And it doesn't even have to be a statistical analysis. You can just look at things, interview, do focus groups, whatever it might be, to sort of rehash out, okay, we didn't get the answers, or we did, but now we have a couple more questions, right? So we're going to investigate that and do a good, thorough job of that before you iterate. I would, again, just in my opinion, I suppose at this point, I would hesitate doing knee-jerk reactions unless like there's the failure point is so in the implementation. The failure point, if like people are just like failing and it's gonna like crash and burn entirely, of course you want to intervene, but on the spot. But doing data analysis after, investigation after is still important. Um, that said, I know I'm talking about a lot of elements and you say, I don't know how to use the Canvas data, this, that, or the other. Not all data are numbers. And I did make a mention of this in the analysis part. I think that an easy way to start working with data is to work with decisions, right, that you make. And so this is another product, and you can scan either of these QR codes. Oh, 4 minutes. Okay. I just got that. I didn't realize the time was going so fast. So I'll go through this kind of quickly. But you can start with just something like a tracker. Now, this is just some generic tracker that this is in real, like I did this with a faculty. This is from an actual use case in my current life with someone adopting a Canvas Mastery Paths, which is a feature inside of Canvas. And we looked at the decision, the influence for that decision and what justifies that. And we revisited the iteration part is that green box where, okay, all right, we evaluated that. Now we're going to revisit it. Yeah, we want to widen the range of concepts or modules that are we're identifying as challenging for students, and then collect that data, and then we're going to write it up in some sort of report, in some sort of publication to share with people about the impact. So this doesn't require, I mean, at some point you do have to get to the analysis of like, did they, were they engaged? Were they happy? And did they achieve the result? So you do have to get to the numbers at some point, but while you build up to it, and then maybe construct a team that can help you to, operationalize the idea. So this is going to give you something systematic that's built on, this idea of like we're going to ongoingly look at this and track our decisions and our in our communications around those. So because I don't have a ton of time, I would just encourage you to reflect, and we might not have time to do it now. Like, what's stopping us or you from doing any of the things that we've talked about? Is it, just you don't feel like you have support from the administration, you don't feel like your colleagues care, whatever it might be. Um, okay, 310. Okay, good. Thank you. I almost panicked there for a minute, but all right. So, but I'll keep going. So yeah, what's stopping us from moving forward? What's fueling our motivation to want to do it? As you can see, I think there are probably still four people here. Maybe it's the same four, maybe it's a different four. But I think that this, I don't want to say it doesn't get a lot of love, but I think it's intimidating to people when they think of like data and analysis. And I'd like to talk about this when I'm done presenting this next piece. I want to hear your thoughts on maybe what's stopping you or what's fueling you. But I think what's at stake, and I hope we get to this part too in the conversation, is um, student success, the success of our faculty development programs, whatever they might be. I think that when you begin to implement, create, or start making data-informed decisions, you see a difference. And maybe you think everything is going well right now and great, and it's just like my feeling, I got it. But you don't necessarily want to base the success of a program or a course on a feeling only. So, with that said, I'd love to hear from the few people that we have here, based on the things that I shared today, what's stopping you, fueling you, or concerning you with this topic of data and data literacy? Anyone have a thought?
Yeah, so honestly, Jim, and again, we're so small, I'll just unmute. I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing really genuinely is the availability of those analytics and also in the case of, I'll just go ahead and out it of, SPOIs, the
Mhm.
validity of some of those things. So I think that's currently where I stand. That, I mean, when I was a teacher and did a lot more action research, everything I did was based off of, student grades and student success. And it wasn't nearly as numbers based as it was more of a feeling, but I think all of us have that kind of threshold where we're doing our own, like, kind of soft analytics. It
Yeah.
almost feels like that. But I think for me, really, ultimately, it's availability and validity of what's available,
Thank
ultimately.
you. And if I may just chime in on that availability, I think that's where the instrumentation part becomes really important, Charlotte, right? So like you create you can generate or track what you're interested in knowing about. It's just a matter of, I think, saying this is something that we're interested in knowing. This is a shared goal. Or this is my own personal one, or whatever, or an outcome, expected outcome, maybe is a better way to put it. This is an expected outcome. How do I collect data that will give me an answer to that? And it doesn't need to be on some Pearson, dashboard that was created for someone else who has no idea what we're interested in. I think that, and that's why I shared the design decision tracker too, as like a very low tech, low overhead. You don't need money, you don't need technical skills, you don't need statistical analysis, anything. You could just go in and start tracking the decisions that you're making, whether you feel that's too daunting or not, that's another thing. But like in order to have some sort of ongoing record of the things, and that is your data. It's not numerical, although it can be turned that way, I suppose, at some point at scale. Once you do 1,000 decisions, maybe you could start to numericize it. But you know where I'm going with that? So I think let's maybe I'd challenge you to just try to think what question you might want to know, right? Like what's an expected outcome that you have? And then how can I collect data on that? And
Well,
then,
yeah, and I think sometimes I struggle with, I actually had to look it up. I was looking at the difference between data and analytics, and it says,
okay.
just Google automatically said, data is the collected information, and analytics is the method of studying that information to make better decisions. And I think that to a certain extent, I guess I am already doing that, but I think when I think of the term analytics might previous understanding of it was a little bit
You
different.
mean like analysis,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So yeah, there's a little, yeah, it's a kind of it's nuanced, right? The term. I think data, it can contain like data analytics and data analysis wouldn't be like synonyms. But if analysis is what you're talking about, yeah, if you like, how do I analyze the data that I have? Then you're right. That's a whole other thing that does require some sort of maybe study on your part to be like, what type of, or you just incorporate someone on your team who has those skills, right? That's why I said I don't think data
Hey,
analysis,
Jim, you're on my team, right?
huh?
You're on my team, right?
What do you mean?
I'm just saying, you said you have to incorporate
Oh
somebody on
yeah,
your team
no,
who
yeah,
has
of
those
course.
skills.
No, it's of course, no. Like no, but data, yeah, data analysis is I think a team effort. And a lot of times, I don't know how many quantitative papers or like I don't typically write the methods section for my papers, right? We have psychometricians who might be part of the team who do some more sophisticated analyses and who understand our questions and who are able to, you know, do that aspect of it. So I'm not, my background's not stats either, or methods even for that matter, but you make it work with what you have and you try to incorporate people.
Yeah, I think I struggle with the predictive analysis and getting enough data and enough meaningful data to make predictions with it. But I
Yeah,
know
and
we're getting there.
maybe you don't need, and I think again, I think it's keeping it simple, starting even just like this course design concept. Like you'd be surprised at how powerful just looking at some open-ended comments, right? Are, and I'm sure you do this, right? So I mean, like any data is good data. So I don't think, I mean, just because you don't have power and you can't do some sophisticated analysis and publish on it, doesn't mean that the data that you have in the with the skill set, analysis skill set that you have, you can run plus and correlation in like Excel, right? You don't have to, and I know you did, I don't know what you did for your in your EDD, but like you might have learned some stuff around,
SPSS, yeah,
yeah,
the fun
using
stuff.
tools to do regression and stuff. So, just an interest in it is a whole other thing, right? So being interested in it or, is a whole other thing because sometimes we don't know about it because we just don't care, like myself even, like don't care about certain aspects of it as much. I'd rather just collaborate with people on it.
Well, and I think the other thing is too is, as far as collecting sources of data and collecting surveys, which, I feel like in higher ed, we do have a tendency to collect survey data. And survey data, I think survey data and predictive analytics don't always go together, in my opinion, because again, surveys have the bias of those who are choosing to complete it. Those are who are choosing to complete it. Just, in a session, for example, um, those who faculty who chose to complete the survey on accessibility in their courses might have had a skewed perception of importance of accessibility. So, you have who's
Yeah,
actually choosing to complete the survey. However, with what we're working with page views and clicks and interactivity and number of attempts in a quiz and stuff like that, I think that that's probably a easier way to use data to predict just because
maybe a
it's
little bit,
something they're
but
required to do.
but think about it. I'd encourage you to think about the fact that a lot of people will skip pages and just go straight to the assessment too.
Oh
And
yeah.
also, or skip buying the course materials, right? We have
But
this
that's
issue with
data. But that's
open
data.
education. There's always going to
Yeah.
be these factors that, you know, make it challenging. However, that's why you try to build, not just do one survey, right, but collect data longitudinally more. And I'm a big fan of doing individual and not do the aggregate group sort of like prediction. I think that's dangerous, especially with predictive. But like I think it's very interesting to look at individual trajectories rather than the average of all the trajectories of my class. Because as we know in UDL type research, right? I mean, the average is nobody. So like I think that's dangerous and something that I'm personally trying to get more into is how to do it
Yeah.
takes a lot more skill, I think, for me at least. It feels like there's a lot more
Well,
skill to do that.
computational power, really.
Yeah.
I mean, and availability. But I think with David Wiley kind of touched on this yesterday, for personalization of not only curriculum and learning environments, but also and ID work,
Yeah.
how that kind of individualized data is really going to transform education, or at least has the theoretical power to transform education.
100%. Thanks, Charlotte. Anyone else? I do see the chat. Thank you, Flo, for letting me know the time for real this time. Anyone else want to chime in on the reflection before I move forward to the last couple slides with our last 2 minutes?
I was just enjoying what you all were discussing.
Thanks, Kate. And of course, I'm happy to chat more with whoever came to the session and wants to chat more. I'll share the slides too, and whatever mechanism exists to do that, or you could just email me and I'll share them with you. I think in sum, and I just took it from my own chapter, and I didn't mean that as a plug to myself. I just didn't know how else to say it. So, but I think it's an important thing. I think and this is like in the concluding paragraph of one of the chapters I recently wrote, was like prioritizing professional development for instructional designers, but also the teachers, right? Because let's be honest, like the instructors we work with, for one, they're not trained, in a lot of cases, they're not trained already educators. Like the professors, like in higher ed, for example, they're trained in whatever physics or whatever it might be, right? So they do have more probably training with statistical analysis and stuff because they likely did a PhD, but there's still probably a gap in doing learning, doing like SOTL research, right? The scholarship of teaching and learning versus just researching about your topic are different animals. So in a lot of ways, I think one of the gaps that needs to be prioritized is getting from like, look, all of us, well, not all of us, at best, in a lot of cases, we know data exists. A lot of times we don't even know what data exists. But then what is even a bigger layer to that is that those who know what to do, like Charlotte was saying, all right, I got all the data. Now what do I do with it? I think that's what we're trying to get to. It's a really tough go, especially if it's the work of the willing. And a lot of people are like, I'm not a data analyst. Like, don't talk to me about this. So I guess that is what it is. But my goal, at least with talking about this, and this is actually the first time I've talked about it since writing these chapters, or a second time, is okay, 28 seconds. Yeah. What do we do? How do we do it? If you want to scan these QR codes in 20 seconds, unfortunately for the first two, they're not openly licensed resources, so you'd have to, or openly available. You'd have to have a subscription through your library probably to read them. But then the last one is, and I go through the decision tracker a little more in that one, and this is done with a faculty member here. So I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you.
How are you doing?
Nervous.
Ah, it's a circus, so how can
Yeah.
it go wrong?
Well, I feel like I'm on the tightrope.
Let me make sure we've got you in here with co-host.
Excellent, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here. I hope all of your last sessions were wonderful. I know I got to peep in to a few different ones, but I didn't get to watch them all. So I just wanted to remind everybody that the recordings will be available come probably. Oh, it depends on how long it would take to get them captioned, but you can be assured that we'll be screaming it from the mountaintops when they are published. So we really hope that you look out for whatever sessions you weren't able to attend. And for those of you who weren't able to attend the talent show this morning, TOPkit's Top Talent, I wanted to invite everybody in the chat before we got started to talk about a talent that they might have that might be an unusual thing or something that you have that might surprise somebody, and share inside of the chat.
Charlotte, can you help me get Desiree with host? She's going to be our fantastic best
I
in trust.
absolutely can.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very good, Desiree. All good. And you can go ahead and start sharing. All right.
Anything you need us to do to support you from the back end, Desiree? You want us to watch chat or just kind of?
Watching chat would be fantastic.
Okay. Awesome.
I do have towards the beginning, I have one where I ask folks to put in the chat like instructional challenges they face. And then towards the end, there's kind of an optional activity where folks can put in stuff in the chat if they want.
Awesome. Cool. Yay.
So you're seeing my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. All right. I can take it down now if we want to focus on break time.
Sure. It's up to you.
Okay. So that says new share cancel. So, and sorry, I'm not used to Zoom.
That's okay. You did it right. I'm able to pop my screen back up. So, yep, everybody, we currently are in a break. We are going to be joined by Desiree in a few minutes for our best in track. So stay tuned. You have a little bit over 6 minutes. Please get up, stretch, take a good break, come back. And again, at 3:20, we'll start with our best in track.
And I have got to say, Subi, I think it was learning to your dog that learned to roll over and die like a cockroach was adorable, but I didn't realize you'd gotten a new dog, Sue.
It was
When did
kind
you
of
get
funny
him?
that we used to just say that he sleeps like a dead cockroach because
Yeah.
he literally rolls on his back and sleeps with all four legs in the air. And so Sophia started working with him on a trick. And so that's his trick. He gets sprayed with Raid and then he rolls over like a dead cockroach. He came back from the army and we were just fostering him because the guy who got injured was hoping to get well and get him back. But in the meantime, he ended up having a child and then getting pregnant and having another child. And they just decided big dog with two babies was too much. So we were going to help them find a new owner. And honestly, my husband came back and said, I can't. He's got to be ours. So we kept him. So we have a 10-pound Chihuahua and a 110-pound. He's half black golden retriever and half German Shepherd.
I did not realize he was that big.
110. 10-pounder and 110. And let me tell you, the Chihuahua is still the boss.
As it should be. As it should be, Sue.
Ooh, Desiree's a thumb wrestling champion. I love it. I actually still do thumb wrestling with my daughter. She loves to do it.
My nephew can only beat me if he cheats.
Oh, that's so funny.
He likes to cheat though.
That's so funny. Oh, Amy, 135 pounds. Holy cow. Do you share the bed?
He weighs more than I do.
We let ours jump up too, and then we're like on the edge. And again, he's dead cockroach right in the middle.
See, when we were weighing getting a new dog, we absolutely considered a lab because a Labrador Retriever is like the classic dog, right? The classic perfect dog. But I know that some of them do end up being gigantic, and we ended up opting for a Papillon who is 8 pounds.
Yeah,
Because
we adopted our Chihuahua during COVID, and we went to a pet rescue. And of course, my daughter picks this puppy that has the biggest paws I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, "Oh, Sophia, no, look at those paws. That thing's going to be 200 pounds." I'm like, What about this cute Chihuahua over here?" And we're lucky; they're both great dogs. All right, for those of you just joining us, I know some of us has to come in and leave and come back, and we really appreciate you taking your time that you can be here joining us today at TOPkit Workshop 2026. Right now, we're currently in our break. But please, if you have not, we will be having a best in track session coming here at 3:20. So stay tuned. We aren't going to be going in breakout rooms. We will have the one presentation so that all of us can see this best in track. If you have any questions or need any help with anything, please feel free to unmic or drop it in the chat. And Charlotte and I will do our best to do what we can to help you out. Otherwise, we'll get started in about 3 minutes. You know, Charlotte, I thought I had found some good circus music, and so I played it, and then I found out it was just like 30 seconds that it looped, and then it just got creepy as it kept looping.
I will say that has been a continued challenge with the carnival theme, that all the
At
carnival
first it
music that I
wasn't
find,
bad, and then I'm like, ooh, it's kind of just going
it
over and
ends
over.
up turning into creepy clown music. It is very true.
Some did have a title that said creepy clown music. So I avoided those, but I was very shocked at how creepy some of them were, just for sounding like a circus. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing. Desiree, if you would like to, please go ahead. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. We're just wrapping up our afternoon break. We will get started at 3:20. So please stay tuned and we'll make our introductions in just a couple minutes.
And if you're just now joining us or you're coming back after a break, please feel free to say hi in the chat and say where you're joining us from, or just say hi again. I know I see some new faces here, so don't be shy. I'll say hi again too. Oh, boo, Randall, boo. But also, I deserve that. Should have seen that one coming. Oh, the Artemis moved up to 5:15, Tina? I thought it was like 6:15.
That's the middle of the window, but with the weather being, they said it could go off as early as the earliest part of the window.
Oh,
So
thanks.
just keep your eyes open.
Absolutely. Super exciting.
Welcome, and I think we're at 3:20, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit record.
Can y'all hear me?
You are good to go. Yes. Welcome to our Best in Track session, and we are so happy to have you here, Desiree. I just wanted to note that our Best in Track sessions are chosen by blind jury, just based on the scores that are given when the proposals are sent out. So this is earned, and we are very happy to have you here. So I wanted to introduce you and say that we are happy for you to take it away. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. This is really exciting. I am here to talk about a little bit of a dorky side project that I was working on last year, and so that's what I'm presenting about today. I'm going to discuss my pilot project to begin recording our faculty's instructional challenge and following up with them to ensure we met their expectations. So that's kind of the plan for today. So introduce myself, I'm Desiree Henderson, and I'm one of the learning design project managers on the digital learning team at USF Tampa. In today's session, I'll provide some context about our unit, digital learning, and our course development process. Then I'll talk about the origins of the pilot, in which I built a process to not just identify instructional challenges, but document them, prioritize them, and follow up on them. I'll detail the steps I took to prepare for the pilot before sharing the findings. Then I'll share briefly about how we track instructional challenges within our project management system. I'll conclude with my lessons learned, and we'll do a brief activity as long as time allows. And then finally, we'll open it up for audience questions. So here we go. Digital learning is part of innovative education, or INED for short, and encompasses four key areas of expertise, which learning design, of course, which our expertise there is grounded in pedagogical principles, cutting edge multimedia creation for engaging interaction, which is our INED Studios expertise, educational technology integration, and robust facilitation support. The integrated approach ensures the delivery of high quality online student experiences that foster learner success and solve instructional challenges. Learning design and INED Studios, we kind of work together to address the instructional challenges as we build courses, and our training and support colleagues remediate new instructional challenges that arise during online facilitation. So that's a little bit about us. And to give you some more context about how our design and development process works, we have 5 phases in our process, which starts with pre-design. This is where we introduce our course plan document, which captures instructional challenges from faculty. As long as I've worked at digital learning, we've always asked faculty about their instructional challenges for all courses. The pilot just focused on creating a process to ensure we focus on meeting those instructional challenges alongside our other priorities. Then we go into curriculum design and media planning, where we start populating the course map and determining the media strategy based on what's appropriate for the content and the audience. Once we have enough content on the course map, we build a prototype of the course to make sure we're on the right path to meet quality standards. The media creation phase follows, which is our longest phase. That's when we execute the completed course map for modules beyond the prototype. And then we wrap up with a quality review phase. As I mentioned, each phase has its own deliverables, which are scaffolded, and the entire process is designed to be collaborative between designers and instructors. Our collaborative effort takes place within a semester timeline, but they don't all start in the same place, so designers meet faculty wherever they're at. We meet regularly to keep the momentum going throughout the development process. And I got to know this process really well because I started on the team as a junior learning designer in 2019. So imagine my surprise when I was searching for something else in our cloud storage files, and I came across this older document, the instructional challenges document, that hadn't been used in a while. I thought it could be really valuable for designers if it was integrated more into our development process. The way I saw it, with the form, the designers could not only capture the instructional challenges, but check in at certain points to make sure they developed a plan of action to address the instructional challenges and executed that plan. This form could also serve as a testimony of what problems were presented, what recommendations were made, and how the course design reflected intentional and thoughtful methods to address the challenges. So focusing on instructional challenges at the beginning of our dev cycle is really purposeful. We feel like it's an important place to start, which is why we included it in our course plan document in the pre-design phase. The issue was we weren't really tracking that beyond the course plan until the pilot. Hence, those instructional challenges were rarely documented in ways that informed design decisions or sparked meaningful follow-up. And that follow-up is really important because it allows designers to across all of the things that they're juggling at one time, like pedagogical concerns, institutional mandates, emerging tech, yada, yada, yada. It really allows them to, when they get the feedback, to stick to what's working, to stop doing things that aren't working, and strengthen their confidence in their learning design practice. So I just want to take a moment and have you please share in the chat, what are some instructional challenges you've encountered when designing online courses? Or maybe if you're a faculty member, what are some instructional challenges that you face as an online teacher? We'll take about a minute to capture some answers on that if you want to get started. It's a wonderful opportunity to commiserate at the end of the day. Time, yes. Lack of faculty follow through, absolutely. Repetitive assignments. Yeah, there's a line between being consistent and being repetitive. Getting some instructors to think of themselves as educators and subject matter experts. Too many readings, that's one that I see pretty commonly. Accessibility needs, absolutely. So these are all definitely challenges that I've seen before and factor into what this whole process is about. And I'm glad you mentioned Lauren, and shout out to you for your session yesterday. Too many tools, that is actually a little bit of foreshadowing that you'll see later in the presentation. Engaging the students, plagiarism, absolutely. Has it been about a minute? All right, great. So thank you for sharing your instructional challenges. These are all things that become like a really great starting point for a conversation with faculty that can lead to recommendations. And our intention is really to just follow through on those challenges and make sure that faculty understand that they're heard. So my goals for the pilot kind of really aligns with what you were just mentioning. We can build trust through the design process when we demonstrate we're invested in making faculty's lives easier. So that's really about strengthening collaboration. We can also use data we gather in following up with faculty to inform our leadership what we're learning about faculty needs. So bringing everybody into the conversation, essentially. We also use instructional challenges to frame our learning design skill set in places like when we do our kickoffs at the beginning of every semester, when they send out marketing information about our team. We have a website, conferences, and other kind of venues. So we can use the instructional challenges to tell a compelling before and after story about the quality of our interventions in course design and development. If we're able to analyze data and determine that some tools or methods aren't working as intended, maybe we also make other budget priorities or shift gears with new approaches. So that's where having all of this information at scale really helps to determine like what are we spending money on that maybe we don't need to. So now I'm going to get into how I conducted this pilot. The first step was determining when instructional challenges came up within our existing process. So as I mentioned, we had a question in our course plan document about it, but designers tended to refer to that document less and less as developments proceeded. So it was important to capture it on that separate document. Then with leadership support, I developed an implementation strategy to complement our process. The next step was to soft launch the instructional challenges document back into the process in pre-design when we fill out the course plan and discuss instructional challenges. So we said, let's put the form back in the process, and here's why and here's how. Next, I selected courses and participants, and I'll discuss the criteria that I used in the next slide. Then we were ready to launch the pilot. I interviewed all of the faculty from the sample, collected transcripts of our interviews, and analyzed the data using a cool coding tool called Delve. I definitely recommend that one. And at last, I reported the pilot results, which are part of this presentation. So there are required and preferred criteria for selection for our pilot participants. All of our pilot participants met the required and preferred criteria, but first they have to have a course development that is complete, on time, and achieve the high quality designation, which we use QM, like a lot of the other ones here in the SUS. The instructor must have been an active participant in the development process. All instructional challenges must have been fully addressed, and the designers, project manager, someone like me, or some other leadership member must support the follow-up of tracking for instructional challenges for the development. The preferred is that they use tools that our digital learning training and support folks support, and most fit that criteria, but some folks have published their software they're using that it's really specific for their field. That kind of situation is more difficult. But it's not a deal breaker. And as most of you know, many developments are actually facilitated by adjuncts, or the faculty developer will not actually facilitate the course. So in those cases, it's really difficult to follow up with courses unless a plan is put together ahead of time. So here is my sample: 3 faculty teaching unique online courses. 1 undergrad, 2 graduate, and 2 are from Behavioral and Community Sciences College, and 1 from the College of Education. So a small sample, but I found great findings from dealing with these folks. So now you're going to see our instructional challenge document in process. So for Dr. Heather George, her challenge was that the course needed more engaging and meaningful learning activities. So the designer decided that the best way to address that is to add scenario-based and role-based prompts and discussions and practice activities. And she also included a Padlet activity where students submit an artifact and a reflection. And you can see that on the left here. That's one of the role-based discussions that the designer created for the course. So the first question that we asked the instructor was, when sharing your instructional challenges with your designer, what was the outcome you hoped for? And Dr. George was talking about a previous iteration of the course that employed a lot of PowerPoint. She said it was such a passive engagement of just listening to a module and doing an activity. So my expectation was, is there a method in which they can better interact with each other? To me, I felt like we met and exceeded that. For Dr. Nazreen Sadiq, her challenges were that she really wanted to ensure students were engaging with the materials in the course, such as readings and activities. So the designer, in her case, chose to replace some reading with videos, add peer review to movie analysis assignments, and design a rubric for constructive feedback. And you can see on the left an interactive presentation that the designer made to complement the readings and videos. So we asked Dr. Sadiq the same question: when sharing your instructional challenges with your designer, was the outcome what you hoped for? And she responded, this time they can touch things, they can click on things, and ask them to think about something and ask them to type something down. And I think that's something that was really missing from the class before. I'm really glad we have that now. And the final instructor from our sample is Dr. Denise Sheriff in her Foundations of Library and Information Science class. One of her challenges was she needed help designing assessments for a high enrollment course. So the designer in turn created peer review workshops and utilized tools such as Harmonize, Padlet, and Perusal to try to ease the grading load on the instructor. You can see on the left evidence of a Harmonize discussion that was used in the course. If you're not familiar with Harmonize, it's an online discussion tool that works really well when you have a lot of media-rich types of discussions. In this case, the outcome was not what the instructor hoped for to address her challenge. The instructor mentioned in her interview she was still very enthusiastic about educational technology, and she offered to volunteer to pilot new tools, but the number of tools in this case proved to be a barrier for students. And she said, she was using both Harmonize, Perusal, and Padlet, but she ended up pulling back to where she was only using Harmonize and Perusal. And even Harmonize had a large learning curve, so they had to work through that. And for the next three questions, I kind of summarized to help us with time. We asked the second question: how did you respond to challenges you faced during facilitation? And most of them felt like they could get along pretty well on their own. Dr. Laura Rodriguez Lopez, who is a co-designer with Dr. Heather George, she said she's not so codependent on us to make simple changes. She knows how to utilize the tools and then can apply them on her own, which is really, really wonderful to hear. The third question was, would you recommend that other faculty apply the methods that InEd used to address your instructional challenges? And all of them said that they would. And Dr. Nazreen said she would. She's been a co-developer in other courses, and she's been able to spot opportunities for more interaction and low stakes kind of practice activities. And the last question we asked regarding instructional challenges was, have any new instructional challenges arisen since you facilitated the course the first time? And Dr. Sheriff said, nobody did anything wrong. It's not a complaint. It is a statement of how teaching is, best when done by humans. So there were gaps. There were new instructional challenges that arose. But they were able to identify those challenges and tackle them on their own or with the support of our training and support colleagues. And when we had the opportunity to ask them about instructional challenges, we also capitalized on the opportunity to ask them about other components of course design that we did for their courses. So here are some more findings that we took away. First, measurable assessments. The faculty reported that the assessments and activities were effective in measuring and supporting student learning. This navigation design, students said that they loved the way that courses were set up, and the faculty said they were set up intuitively. Students also gave feedback about liking the interactive presentations. They left positive comments in other survey instruments and really agreed that the online courses were effective in teaching them. This was another one that we mentioned already, active engagement and interaction. Faculty said they didn't want to overdo it with peer interaction, and sometimes the students were quieter than usual. I put an asterisk there. For those of us in Florida, remember the 2 hurricane fall. That could have been a big contributor to that. But Harmonide added a chance for students to nerd out about course topics, and that's one of my favorite things that I learned. Also, faculty reported that they felt empowered by working with us, and they learned new things in each development that they share in subsequent versions of their courses. So they're learning it, it's sticking, they're being able to apply it in other scenarios. So quick run through of what we do to then, once we capture all the instructional challenges into the document, we have a dedicated Asana board where everybody posts their instructional challenges document within a task. And on the right, you can see an example of a task that's for this current semester period. And I have tagged that course with the terms gamification and high enrollment. And that makes it possible to use the tags to search for the same terms when they go into the Asana search function, and they can go in and look at other things that have those terms and then maybe collaborate with another learning designer or learn some lessons from someone who had done it before them. So that's a way to keep it kind of globally accessible for all the learning designers and help them learn from each other. So the quick takeaways from this pilot was the existing process considerations. Our team is so focused on design and development. We really probably need more resources to capture this data at scale. I also mentioned to the adjuncts, when the courses are handed off, there's kind of a disconnect between the faculty developers' sort of intentions and then how it's actually being understood by the adjuncts, because they're different folks. And then variability between subjects. A lot of the findings that we have are not generalizable because every faculty that we work with has different attitudes, different technological capabilities, different styles, and that sort of thing. So they have to be able to look at more information from their colleagues before they can make really generalizable conclusions. So I see we're running low on time, but this is a really quick activity. There's on the next screen, we can just show this for a minute. And it's also available. I did upload the presentation in the files. So what I'd like everyone to do is kind of think about, where do instructional challenges first show up? Where do they surface? So do you have that as part of your process where you are asking about instructional challenges or not? And maybe you want to. Then think about, when instructional challenges emerge, write down the moment that it happens, who's capturing it, and where it's going to go. So for us, we capture that I had mentioned in the course plan, and now we capture it in the instructional challenges document. And then feel free to share with me. I encourage everyone, I'll go to the next slide, and connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also email me, visit the digital learning website. We have a lot of evidence of our work there, tackling instructional challenges, and doing the best work for our faculty that we can. So thank you so much for listening to this presentation. You've now heard about my dorky side project, and I hope you enjoyed.
Desiree, that was fantastic. That was the coolest, dorkiest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe this was a side project for you. I was monitoring the chat, and a lot of it I think you saw when they were giving feedback. But one of them just asked, "Are you have you presented elsewhere or have you published this anywhere?"
I have not presented this anywhere else, nor have I published yet.
Woohoo!
So this
And
is a TOPkit exclusive.
I mean, this is part of what this right here is one of my favorite parts about TOPkit is the fact that we're all out there doing very similar things. And it is so wonderful to see presentations where, again, you kind of see the same things happening, but you came out and gave us some great new solutions or way to think of things. So again, thank you so much. I put in the chat that I'm so glad these sessions are recorded because, sometimes you miss a sentence or you want to go back and get it. And I'm so glad that I'll be able to go back and just see some of the slides that you showed some great information on, and then just some of the things you said. We do have a few minutes, so I open it up to those that are also here in the room. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to unmute or put it in the comment area.
And I wanted to also say, Sue, before anybody else asks any questions, this is a great time to plug that we will have a call for proceedings, Desiree, if you are at all interested in submitting. So, but please don't let that stop anybody from asking questions on Desiree's awesome dorky project and so much good data that you got to, seriously.
Yeah, excellent to see that.
Thank you so much.
Well, hopefully you're seeing the wonderful kudos that are pouring in through the chat area. I agree, Karen.
Well, that's
All right.
awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, if we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and just say again, thank you so much, Desiree. We really appreciate your time and sharing such great information and data and just your experiences and how, again, you're tackling some of the same things some of us at other institutions are as well. We just really appreciate this time and information. So thank you again.
Awesome.
Thanks
so much.
Right, Charlotte, or if you're okay, I either turn it back to you or Susie. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and
Wonderful.
I'll give it over to Susie. Give me just a second.
Thank you, everyone, for another second amazing day of TOPkit workshop. It's been just wonderful seeing all the sessions.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Day two was no April Fool's joke. So we had an afternoon of engaging sessions, fresh ideas, even practical insights. So thank you all. If today happens to be your last day at TOPkit, we are sad, but if you could take our TOPkit survey, we would appreciate it. If you know today it will be your last day. We also like to thank the Kevin Corcoran and the ID panel for inspiring panel. As Charlotte said, every word you were hanging on to it. So I know everybody enjoyed that. And for our presenters, another great day of wonderful perspectives shared across the sessions. And so we are looking forward to day 3, our last day under the TOPkit Big Top. So please come back. It promises to have more engaging sessions and Charlotte jokes, and even Sue will share maybe more tricks from her dog. You never know. So we'll kick things off tomorrow with the TOPkit trivia on Kahoot. It is the Carnival Magic Edition, so you will not want to miss that. I hear prizes will be awarded. So get out those phone and practice your speed responses. We will follow that with a opening panel that features student voices from every learner everywhere. Again, this is another presentation we've brought back because it is always so awesome and insightful, and we get so much from it. So you won't want to miss that. And the day 3 presentations from our presenters. So thank you all for joining us. Get out your carnival hats and put them away tonight, but bring them back tomorrow for our wrap-up sessions. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. And if you have any questions or any last minute things that we need to discuss, please feel free to unmute and share your thoughts and ask any questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful day and we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, Kayla, I'm excited for the student panel too.
Me too. It's my favorite.
It's always a highlight.
Hoping I can hear a little bit of it. I just wanted to find out, Charlotte, where just send you the recordings.
There is a file for it, and I will send it to you in Teams
Perfect.
shortly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I thought there was, I just didn't remember where.